Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. So, if you could get my presentation up. Like he said, my name is Joel Kojo Telfa. I'm probably, you can hear me. My name is Joel Kojo Telfa. I'm probably the youngest person you're going to be seeing here today. I graduated from KNUST this year, July this year. And I must say it's a great honor to be here amongst you guys. I was enlisted to be here last year, but unfortunately because of something I wasn't able to make it. So I'm glad to be able to come this year and share my experiences with you and share a few tips as to why I think there are a lot of things you can master and make you a better public speaker. There's something I'm going to be doing with this session. In terms of what I'm going to be talking about, I wish you could come up. The art of impromptu and 7 techniques I think everybody should know. You're working on it, that's fine. I'm going to be doing an interactive session. That means that I'm not the only one going to be handling the session, because I feel like there are obviously some things that all of you may have encountered that would obviously make you in a position to be able to share your experiences, and then we can learn from each other. Is that all right? Is that all right? Please, I'm very interactive because I used to hate long, boring lectures. In fact, I never really used to go for lectures. But the thing is, so I don't want to be here today giving a lecture, because I never saw myself doing that ever. So I want to have an interactive session. So if you could do me the honor of being as responsive as possible, I'd be very glad. Is that okay with you? Is that okay with you? Right. Was the food too much, or it was too little? It was too much. I'm sure the organizers will take a cue from that. So today we're going to be talking about techniques for impromptu speaking, 7 things you need to know. They are not exhaustive. These are things I wish I knew before I made my first public speaking fail. I'm going to be talking to you about that soon. But these are things I wish I knew before I made that fail. And these are things that I feel if you're able to practicalize, you should easily be able to implement for your good and betterment, right? So what are we doing today? Of course, the introduction. I'll be telling you why I think I'm the most qualified to be talking to you about this session. I'm sure over the time you've heard about a lot of issues about confidence and needing to build your confidence. I'm not being confident when I say I think I'm the most qualified to talk to you about this session. I'm being realistic because it's the truth. Then I'll tell you why this is important. And obviously, the internet has so much already. I heard the MC talking to you about asking questions about who has watched public speaking videos, but why should you listen to me? Why should you give me your ears for the next 30 minutes or so? And then we'll do the other stuff, right? Is that all right with you? Is there something I need to add? Is there something I need to add? All right. So, I think for impromptu speaking, a lot of us have heard about it. A lot of us have done it before. Some of us may have failed at it. But I think we need to take a general overview or an overlook. I have very terrible eyes, so I'd have to look here. The screen is so small for me, so I'll look here. Impromptu is something that is done without being planned or rehearsed, and it's often a very difficult thing to do for a lot of people. It's done wrongly by politicians and public servants. There was something I should have added, beauty pageants. When you go for beauty pageants, they ask those contesting a question out of the blue, and the answers they give, very terrible answers. And politicians, because they are politicians, whenever they see a microphone, they want to talk. And so they go for a function. They are not supposed to speak at the function. They will introduce. Okay, let's welcome the Republic Hall president. He doesn't necessarily have to come and talk, but because he's a politician, he wants to gain some fame. Oh, yes, and we'll clap for him. And he comes up to the stage, and all he comes to do is to say nonsense. Because there's an impulsive nature about politicians. They think that every microphone is a platform to campaign. Even for those who are leaving office, for those who have left office many years, they clamor at an opportunity to be seen in public and speak. Because, especially in our side of Africa, there's some prestige that comes with being called honorable or His Excellency. And so, when you call these people and you don't add their titles, you don't add doctor, and you don't give them the platform to talk, they are never attending your program the next time. And also, it has very basic rules that can easily be mastered. But I cannot overemphasize that this is the most difficult type of public speaking. You know why? Because it's the type of public speaking you can never really be prepared for. Let's move on. So why me for the session? Can anybody tell me? Anybody? Guess. Your wildest guess. Why me? Yes, please. You tell us your name.
Yeah, my name is Abubakar Alasan. Yeah, I think you have passed through a lot in terms of the level of confidence that you had at first. I can see that at first you weren't having enough confidence, but now you have gotten it. That's why you are the best person too.
I think this man is a prophet. He's looking into my past then and telling me my future. Anybody else? Quickly, then we move on. Anybody else? Please. Nobody. All right. Oh, let's go back. So why me for this session? It's a question I've been asking myself since Roland, the facilitator of this program, sent the list of things that we're supposed to be treating. I said there were more beautiful things like PowerPoint presentation skills, and those are things that you can easily talk about. So why has it given me this very difficult thing to do? I think that my experiences, and I talk for a living. Let me just say this and get this out of the way. I talk for a living. That is what I do. I just talk all day. That is what I get paid to do, just to talk. And so I think my experiences and my interactions makes me want to handle this topic. Because in many instances, I found myself in situations where I've literally had to do an impromptu speech to save my life. I'll give you a typical example. When I was in senior high school, all of you went to senior high school, right? Unless you are DB and you went to some private school. I went to senior high school in Cape Coast, Ghana's finest senior high school anyways. Infant Swim School in Cape Coast. And when I was in Infant Swim, I used to be very smallish. Not that I'm any bigger now, but I used to be very smallish. And I always used to get bullied a lot. Because, of course, when seniors or bigger seniors see smaller boys, they take it as an opportunity to take some money away from you or your provisions or something of the sort. So I needed a survival skill. I needed a way to get out of this because I found out that in many instances I was always getting beaten up for nothing I did or anything of the sort. So I learned how to lie. I learned how to lie. And part of lying means that you always have to have your story straight. Because if you lie at this point, and the next person, you tell them, and the two of them are able to link up, and they find out you're lying, my guy, you're in more trouble than you think. So I learned how to lie. Part of lying came up, the spirit of having to say things off the top of your head when you are not prepared for them. So a senior miss me, tougher. Can't make a lash you. You be bad boy. Can't make a beat you. Like senior, at the sick. Like, what are you sick of? Like, I'm suffering from severe immunodeficiency, blah, blah, blah. I say a lot of things. Doctor said if you touch me this way, something will happen to me and all that. So I found out that it was a very good thing for me. I'm not saying lies are good, please. What I'm saying is that what you realize is if you're able to effectively master the art of impromptu speaking, you should never find yourself in what we call a tough corner. We'll be delving deeper into that. But there's something I want you to watch. I don't know if it will play. I hope you'll be adding it to my time. All right. I'm sure most of you didn't hear, so I'm going to be doing the narration. This was a pageant in 2007. Miss South Carolina. This is Miss America. So Miss South Carolina. South Carolina is one of the states. She was asked why, like recent polls, statistics have shown that a lot of Americans don't even know where to place America on the map. Impromptu. And her answer was, she personally believes Americans can't do that because they don't have maps. And that because the level of education is low in Iraq and South Africa. I mean, for crying out loud, what has that got to do with maps? And if you notice, it's a worrying trend we find a lot amongst young people. Because, first of all, they are not informed. Second of all, because they are tempted to say things all over, they just begin to ramble and say unnecessary things. So in the future, I don't want you to be like Miss South Carolina. I want you to be able to avoid that. So why do we need these skills? I have identified some reasons why I think everybody needs to effectively master the art of impromptu speaking. I think it can land you a job. In corporate environments, you hear something called an elevator pitch. Has anybody heard about it? Elevator pitch. Right, so an elevator pitch is sort of like a 2 to 3 minutes where your prospective employers will ask you to say something on the top of your head. And most people land jobs as a result of that. So as an up-and-coming graduate, it's obviously a skill you want to master. It's life-saving. I've told you my personal experience as to how I saved my own life by talking out of it, because the beating was brutal, I can assure you. It's an essential skill for any graduate to have, and it's the most important blockade in becoming a great speaker. I kid you not. It is easy for you to prepare a very wonderful speech, come here, and come and deliver it. But imagine you are put in a tough situation, you're asked a very important question, and then you're unable to answer. And then you begin to fret, you begin to shake. Everybody will begin to forget how a wonderful speaker you are. For me, I think one of the greatest speakers in the world is Barack Obama. I don't think he's a good speaker because of his prepared speeches. I think he's a good speaker because of his impromptu speeches. If you have the time, go to YouTube. There was this one time, he was at a campaign event, and there was this guy constantly heckling him in the crowd. You know when politicians are talking and somebody at the back is saying, "Oh, you're saying nonsense, you're saying nonsense, you're saying nonsense." And then he called up the guy. Come on, come and ask you a question. It was something related to racial indiscrimination in the United States. Racial discrimination, sorry, in the United States. And the manner in which he answered the question, at the end of the day, the media began to focus on that answer to the question that was posed to him, rather than the entire speech he had spent over 30 minutes delivering. That is how fast or how big an impromptu speech can make and or make you. Imagine if he had fluffed it up or had said something terrible. That would obviously have dominated the news cycle. And so it's important that at every point in time you appreciate that impromptu speaking skills can make you or make you. So let's go on to the best form of practice, as I was saying earlier. Like I said, no form of practice can prepare you enough for impromptu speaking. No amount of long, boring speeches, like people telling you, do this, do that, because you can never really anticipate what question will be asked. For instance, what's your name? I want to hear you. Joseph, if I ask you to give an impromptu speech on, let's say, flowers, when you were coming from home, you never anticipated that was something I was going to ask you to do, right? And so you could never really have prepared for an impromptu speech. That is what makes it impromptu. You can never be prepared. But I found out that there's a very weird attribute of talking to yourself that can prepare you for impromptu speeches. It's not that you're a mad person, no. I do that a lot. I talk to myself a lot. Because I feel like there's no better way to echo your thoughts than when they are said. Like, you could have a lot of wonderful ideas, but if they never come out, you could never really appreciate if they sound foolish or they sound good. So when you talk to yourself a lot, that's I don't know, maybe you may think that it may make you look like a mad person. I'm not saying go onto the streets and do it. I mean, you may have reputations to protect. So it's important that you're able to talk to yourself, especially when you have like one-on-one time. So usually when I'm in front of my mirror, it's something I like to do. I like to visualize like I'm some big person and think that I'm delivering a very important speech. Ideally, what would I say? That way, if I'm ever put in a situation where I need to answer a question off the top of my head, I remember my mirror and said, oh, I probably have talked about it in front of my mirror before, and I'm going to do it now. It's always important to be able to have a wild imagination. When you have a wild imagination about the things you want to do, the kind of things you aspire to, Obviously, to inform the event you attend. So everybody seated here wants to be a good public speaker. Am I right? That is why you're here this morning. So if you ever visualize a situation where you are required to make a speech off the top of your head constantly, when you are required to do that in one day or the other, you don't find some difficulty. Are you getting it? Classic example, you want to be a politician. If you visualize standing in front of your mirror delivering wonderful campaign speeches to a lot of people, and people are shouting, yeah, yeah, yeah. At the end of the day, when you're required to make those speeches, you don't ever struggle. So quickly, let me run you through the techniques. I don't have much time, but the slides will be available. So I say, first of all, 7 golden rules to follow. It is not a platform to be funny or necessarily spew garbage. This is why. Try to avoid quotes and references, because if you quote wrongly, you may end up defeating the purpose of your speech. A lot of us like to say, Mahatma Gandhi said this, and Barack Obama said this, and I'm not saying it's bad. What I'm saying is, if you get the quote wrong, you have messed up the entire thing. Because at the beginning of your impromptu speech, which you're already not prepared for, you've given a quote that may have defeated the purpose of the speech. And note, it's not compulsory that at every point in time when you're giving a speech, you ought to have a quote. It's not true. Quotes make your speech better, that's fine, but it's not set in stone. If you don't have a quote on the back of your head, it's all right. Because usually people that give quotes, they are written down and they make sure they are contextualized with the speech they're about to give. Is that not the case? So why go ahead in an impromptu speech and give a quote? Also, it's not a platform to be a comedian and be funny. Because it's an impromptu speech, you think you can say silly things because obviously you just want to say it and get away with it. No. You can't be funny. That's all right. But then don't assume that because it's an impromptu speech, the stakes are not high. Nobody's expecting anything from you. So you can say what you want and get away with it. Try to avoid that. Quick outline if you have the time. Everybody here seated obviously has a smartphone. Hopefully. If you don't have a smartphone, please get one. But everybody here seated has a smartphone. You could easily draw up an outline of what you want to speak about. Even if you were told, imagine like you're seated here, I'm saying, Charlie, in 5 minutes, I want you to talk about rape. You could quickly draw an outline. Okay, I want to define rape. I want to talk about instances of statistics in rape and all that on your mobile phone. You don't necessarily have to write it down. But even if you don't have the time, what you should try to do is to keep whatever you are saying succinct and simple. I call it the KISS principle. The KISS principle. Keep it succinct and simple. Never make impromptu speeches a big thing. Like people can't relate. Usually talk about the very simple things. Because usually in impromptu speeches, people just want to hear a few words and ask you to leave. So when you talk about the big things, you lose their attention. It's important to keep it succinct and simple. That way, you keep their attention. Also, personal skills you can emulate. Stand tall, don't slump, don't fiddle, or put your hands in your pocket. Once you begin to put your hands in your pockets, this is even for all types of speeches. When you put your hands in your pockets or you fiddle, it begins to show you don't have confidence in what you're saying. And as a speaker, you want to try and avoid the audience looking at anything else apart from you or the things you are saying. So you want all attention to be on you. So therefore, fiddling those are things that you can easily avoid and try to, and especially in impromptu speeches, because the least thing, as I've said consistently, can catch you off guard. So I'm going to do an impromptu speech since he has forced me to be here. Another thing I want to talk about is you could easily identify a model called the PREP model. PREP. Point, reason, example, point. Point, reason, example, point. So, for instance, I've been asked to give a speech on, somebody should give me an impromptu topic. Anybody? Impromptu topic. Anybody, quickly, please. Yes.
Slavery in Libya, as at now.
Slavery in Libya. All right, so what we notice is that a lot of young black African children are being sold off to slavery. This is something we regret. We don't think the likes of Kwame Nkrumah, Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu died for things like this. I'm done. Did you get my point? What was the point? Our great heroes didn't die for this. What are the examples of the heroes? Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu, Kwame Nkrumah. Example, the liberation struggle, independence struggle. The point, our great heroes didn't die for this. Is it clear? Please. So point, reason, example, point. Point, reason, example, point. But before that, personalize the speech. You recall that when I was talking about life-saving incidents, I spoke about how I personally had to lie to save my life. When you personalize the speech, you don't find any difficulty in recalling the events because it's an impromptu speech. If you begin to talk about things that you were not involved in or some story that you heard from somebody, like the Hafad story you heard from Kofi Ako today, if you ask me to talk about that story, I don't remember half of what he said. So if you ask me to give an impromptu speech and I decide to go and talk about that story, obviously I'll mess it up. But I can always remember my experiences because they are my lived experiences. They are something that nobody can take away from me. So always try to personalize impromptu speeches as much as possible. If he asks me to talk about slavery, I'll talk about how I grew up in an Africa that appreciated the rights and freedoms of everybody. And that is the kind of Africa that we should look to envisage and try to police the situation that's happening in Libya. Do you get it? Something simple. I've talked about my lived experiences, my personal experiences. Nobody can take that away from me, right? And yeah, so that's the prep I was talking about. Point, reason, example, point. Make the point, give a reason for making that point, make an example out of the point, and then go back to the point. Okay? So I think that child slavery must end. What is the reason? It's inhumane, it's unfair, and it's obviously not any way for any human being to live. What is the example? We talk about the transatlantic slave trade and all of those things. What is my point? Nobody should live in slavery conditions. Do you get it? Do you get it? Please, did you give me this topic before I came? It was an impromptu speech, right? I just need to be clear. Right. So, yes. So, another thing we should talk about, have strong and opening and closing statements. Have strong opening and closing statements. This is also another form that you need to emulate in any type of speech. Obviously, the first thing you say should be able to draw the audience's attention to you. The last thing you say should also still be able to keep them engaged, right? And then use rhetorics, depending on the situation. When I say rhetoric, I don't mean when you're making an impromptu speech, keep saying what? I'll do what? What? That thing is annoying. It's annoying. Because sometimes the audience might be tempted to answering your question, but maybe you don't even want an answer to the question. So what some speakers do is they always say what? So we are talking about what? Impromptu speeches. When are we going to talking about it? What? Today. Tomorrow what will you do? What? Next week. Do you get my point? When I say use rhetorics, it means use questions that obviously they don't require answers, but it doesn't mean say what. So do you believe you can be a good speaker? I don't want an answer. They are rhetorics. But I don't have to say, do you what? Believe what? That you can what? Hi, Christ. But I'll personally walk out of any speech that begins to, because I didn't come to the speech for you to ask me what every 30 seconds. It's annoying. So try and avoid that. Be conversational and use vocabulary and jargons that your audience will appreciate. I think we have a lot of Nigerians here, right? And so imagine if I came here speaking Twi. Obviously, many of you would have said, this guy, he came to swindle us. He doesn't have anything reasonable for me, so I'm going to close my ears. I'm not going to listen to him. You always have to make your, whatever you're saying, relevant to the audience and make sure it's conversational as much as possible. The final thing I want to talk to you about, and I think that is the most important rule of impromptu speeches, is to never stop reading. Never stop reading. I'm able to talk about the African slavery issue. How many of you know that there are young Africans being sold off to slavery in Libya? How many of you know? Honestly, just put up your hand if you know. And that is bad. Because these are things that are happening to people like you and I. And these are things we should be concerned about. How many of you know the number of Africans living in sub-Saharan Africa? Sub-Saharan Africa. I'll give the person who answers it correctly $50. $50. How many Africans live in sub-Saharan Africa? Going once, going twice, going thrice. Nobody. And that's problematic. Because tomorrow, when you meet your potential employer, he may say, look, Airtel, for instance, is a business that is looking to expand into Africa, right? And you want to work for Airtel. So how many customers will Airtel be looking to serve in sub-Saharan Africa? You don't know. You've lost the job. Obviously, somebody who knows that statistic is better off than you. So never, ever stop reading. Because I don't like to use cliches, but it's true that reading maketh a man, and in this case, a woman too. So reading maketh a person. I mean, you get the point. As much as possible, try to read. Reading improves your vocabulary and makes sure that you are well informed, and always make sure you're on top of the issues. That way, if you're a politician, if you're going for a beauty pageant, if you're going for any program and you're hauled immediately in front of the microphone to go and say something, you can obviously talk about something. Are we clear on that? Thank you very much. I'll take your questions.
Thank you very much. We are taking 2 questions. Let's be very quick about it. You have a question, okay?
Good afternoon. My name is Victor Anya, and offering political studies. So my question is, if you're being asked a question, an impromptu question, on a field that you know you have no knowledge about, how will you go about it? As in, I'm a political science student.
Ask me, what do you think? Guess something I don't know and ask me.
Okay, how do you find the pharynx?
The what?
The pharynx, or how does the esophagus function?
I don't know how the esophagus functions, but I think that every part of the human body is equally as important, contributing to our physical well-being. So today you want us to talk about the esophagus. I want to talk about how we treat ourselves as people, as well-functioning people, ensuring that every part of our body succeeds. Have I done it for you? So, I'll be honest with you. Yeah. I told you I talk for a living, right? Yeah. Many times when I'm asked questions, I don't know the answer. So you know what I do? I talk. I talk because I've had a platform to be the opportunity to be a student leader before. I've also had the opportunity to work with radio stations and all that. Usually when Ghanaian, I don't know about Nigeria, but no, I think it's the same. I've been to Nigeria several times. I think it's the same there. But when they call you, they don't even inform you of the type of questions they're going to be asking you. And so you're in the middle of the interview. What do you think about this? Then all of a sudden, they take you somewhere else. And then you realize that you have to be quick. Either than that, what you say will be held against you. So I always talk.
Okay. The last question for Mr. Joe Tolfa. The last question. The last question for Mr. Joe. Even question. Mr. Tolfa, thanks for being here today.
All right. Quickly, just a minute. Like I said, I talk for a living. I work for a group of people that do public relations. And we are looking out for people that will be able to join us to spread this information and do this wonderful work. And so at the end of today's program, I'll be around. If you want to talk to me personally, obviously for something extra, today I'm only taking a fee because you've already paid enough. So I'll be available to do that. But if you want to join us and also talk for a living, we'll be available for that. Thank you very much and God bless.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Tolfa. I remember those times back in the room here. He happens to be my roommate, though. So the next speaker coming is Mr. Roland Yankson. He happens to be an event organizer, life coach, and entrepreneur. And then he's speaking on nonverbal communication. So, Mr. Roland Yankson.
All right, guys, where do we start from? From the part where this part must be interesting. You see that emoji there? I'm going to tell you something small about that, and we're all going to do some small practice before we start. Do you want it the active way, or you want it a calm, reserved way? We talk slow and we go active. You want us to do it active? All right, so we're going to lift our right hand like we are in the courtroom, and we're going to, like this guy is in the courtroom, and he's putting his hand, the left on the Bible, the right is raised. So we're going to raise our right hand as though we are in the courtroom, and I want to tell you something about the person sitting next to you. So you'll be scared of the person, but raise it well like you're in the courtroom, and you are saying, I promise and I pledge to speak the truth, nothing but the truth, so God help me, that kind of way, so you freeze. Now, there are 5 types of hands raised, and I'll tell you what each of them means. There are some of you, your hands are close together, stiff and straight. Some of you, they are all widely apart and then straight and fixed. There are some of you, you've bent it forward like that. Some of you, yours is 2 together and there's a space in between. And then the last people are like that. Now, in the courtroom, the way you raise your hands can tell the judges if you are here to speak the truth or you're going to lie to them. Now, let me give you the meaning of each of the hands you raised. Now, those who did it like this, it means these folks are frightened, and you'd have to pull the truth out of them. Because if you don't pull the truth, they won't talk it. They're going to speak the truth, but they are frightened. Now, these folks, they are also frightened, and they're going to speak you the truth. They are just going to tell you the truth. The straight hands folks. Now, those who bent it forward, they are scary. If your neighbor did that, be scared of the person. He or she can kill you. That means the person is going to lie to you. He's going to bend forward and lie to you. Now, if yours was two together and then there was a space in between, that is called, the two together is called analytical truth, and then reality, the separation, the two together is analytical truth, and the separation is like he's going to tell you the real truth and all that. So it means these guys are going to combine both. At some point, when the question is less difficult, they are going to tell the truth. But when it's getting deeper, they are going to try and lie to you. So these are those folks. But those who bent backward, that means they're going to try and bend backward. And so you would have to, and lie to you, in fact, try and bend backward and tell you everything so that you believe them, but they are going to lie to you. So the way you raised your hands has everything to do with how the judges are even going to evaluate whatever you're going to do. And then this is one of the reasons why we're going to talk about non-verbals. I'm wondering why they've taken my slide off. But then they have to bring it back. Anyway, so let's do it. If they bring it, we'll catch up to wherever they let us be. Now, when Pastor John was talking, he spoke to us about how communications, the percentages of how our communications are made up of. He says 7% is made up of words, 38%, right, was made up of what? Your voice, your vocals, and then the other 50, what? You were listening. How many was it? 58. You have the records. Yes, that percentage, the 58, is for non-verbal communications. Now, non-verbal communications are very important because when I'm speaking to you, I could read your non-verbal communications to actually assess whether what you're telling me is the truth or you are lying to me. When you meet somebody for the first time, in the first 4 minutes, you communicate 80% of who you are to the person through your non-verbals. One of them is your palms. Now, your palms has a connection with your brains more than any part of your body. I wish they could work on my slide. Boss, can you let them work on it for me? Please forgive us. Okay. So before I go to the palm talk, some of you might not know this guy, but those who don't know this guy, I want to talk about him. On November 19, 1863, at the Gettysburg, this man was a Harvard professor who was contracted, paid so much money to go and deliver a speech. Because these veterans had come from war and then they needed to be motivated, they needed to be spoken to and all that. So he was contracted to go and give a speech. And when this man went there, he spoke for 2 hours, 47 minutes. Yes, 2 hours, 47 minutes. But unfortunate for him, immediately he left, this guy came up. And this guy apparently tweeted. He spoke for 2 minutes, 32 seconds. Abraham Lincoln. And that was where we got the definition from democracy from. That was where he spoke it. The record has it that he spoke so fast that they couldn't even assemble the cameras to capture what he was about to say. But then his message has lived beyond time. And so it brings me to my favorite person in history, politician in history, Sir Winston Churchill, who gave me my favorite quote, that for your message to be immortal, it doesn't have to be eternal. Some speakers think the more I speak, the more I give them tall words, the more I make the impact and all that. No, 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 no. The messages that I've lived through ages and time were messages that were very brief, like that of Abraham Lincoln. So as a public speaker, this is just one of the things I want you to walk home with. But there's another story I want to narrate. On September 26, 1960, the reason why nonverbal communications are very important, and you have to take them very serious. There was a presidential debate in the U.S. I know some of you, I came to your classes, and I told you of this story. For the sake of those who never got to hear this story, the history behind this story is this. That was the first time United States of America was televising their presidential debate. 1960. It was during that period television had come fresh. And so it was during these guys' time that they were televising for the first time their presidential debate. But something happened. Something happened. The debate was between John F. Kennedy and then Richard Nixon, who was then the vice president, now trying to run for the presidency. Prior to the debate, Nixon, during the campaign rounds and all that, broke his leg. He was hospitalized for 2 weeks. And so he was not feeling too strong. And then he came for the debate because the debate, the date could not be changed. And even if he wanted the dates to be changed, it could have been changed for him. But he insisted, no, let's do this. So he came. And then when they were about to start the debate, the host, they were asking, Richard, do you want us to do your makeup or stuff? He said, no, 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 no. He didn't want makeup. But then this young guy, John F. Kennedy, said, okay, let's do it. So on set, John F. Kennedy, like you could even see here, looked more composed, more tushed. You know what I'm saying, right? He looked more energetic. He had that feel. You understand? Like a woman that has put her makeup on, that confidence level. And then this guy, on the other hand, said, okay, no, let's not do this. And so let me cut the story very short because my time is running. And so the debate held. Now, after the debate, something happened. Those who watched the debate on TV said John F. Kennedy will win the elections. Now, those who listened to the debate on the radio said no, it was Richard Nixon who was going to win the election. So my question is, what caused the difference? What caused the difference? Of course, in November when the elections were held, Kennedy won the elections. When Nixon was about to die, he wrote in his memoir that he lost that election because of his nonverbal communications. Nonverbal communications. They are very important. I want to show you just some few pictures. These are the two guys I'm talking about. So this brings to what Mr. John Ebobo was talking about communications. Nonverbal is very important. It forms more than 50% of whatever you're talking to me about. On negotiation skills, what wins on negotiation table is not the words you are speaking, but the ability for you to master your nonverbal communications. So, in the first 4 minutes, you communicate 60 to 80% of your personality to whoever you meet. First 4 minutes. First 4 minutes. I meet you for the first time by the way you shake my hand, the way you look in my eyes, the way you tilt your head, the way you even speak, your voice tone. That's why we were doing all these voice things. You communicate 60 to 80% of your personality, of who you are. If you're a dominant person or you're somebody I can easily override. So Ralph Waldo said something. He said it's how you look when you said it, not what you said, what you actually said. It's not what you actually said that I am looking for. It's how you looked when you said it. He said another thing. He says, what you do speak what you do, speak so loudly that I cannot, or I can hear what you, wait, that should be a mistake. I cannot hear what you say, sorry. What you do, your nonverbals, they speak more than your words. And so the old adage, the cliche, that actions speaks what? Louder than what? Words. And that's why it's important. I could tell you many stories, and these nonverbals have been determining the fate of even presidents up to now. Do you know after John F. Kennedy's case, for 16 years, they never televised the debate? Why? All the candidates were afraid. For 16 years, in the history of US, they never televised a presidential debate because they were all scared. Their nonverbals were giving them out. So let's move on. What is body language? What is nonverbal communications? I just coined one simple definition where we can all chew. It's an outward reflection of a person's emotional condition. That's why many experts are saying you can't always fake your nonverbals. Because if I'm hurt within and I want to fake and be like, I'm cool, it will show on my face. My micro expressions will give me out. Because my nonverbals are the expressions I give outwardly for the emotions within, for how I'm feeling within. So that's why you could notice somebody who is giving you a fake smile and somebody who's giving you a genuine smile. When you're giving me a fake smile, and then I realize that your lip corners have raised, but your eyes, the wrinkles are not here. Because when you're giving a genuine smile, you try smiling genuinely, you find the wrinkles around this eye side. I don't know the name for you, the ladies know. And then your lips will raise. Then you know. But in the fake smiles, normally the lips don't even raise to any height, just some shallow raising. You don't find any wrinkles there because it's fake. The guy didn't want to give you a smile. He forced it out of her. Guys, stop it. Stay with me. I have a loud voice, so sometimes if I don't use the microphone, forgive me. I'm tempted to put it down so that I could talk well. So when a lady plucks his eyebrow that way, just to chip it in, to break the ice, it's the lady is saying, I'm helpless. But then when the guy sees it, it increases your testosterone to say, okay, let me take care of her, let me protect her. So they don't even know why they pluck it. But I'm not saying you want to feel helpless or you want to pluck it. You're on your own. All right, so let's move on. The key to reading body language is being able to understand a person's emotional condition whilst listening to what they are saying. Being able to understand a person's emotional conditions. 10 minutes. Wow. Whilst they are saying what they're saying. Well, then let me skip many words and let's go to these are the 3 rules for accurately reading body languages. So you can take them down. Let me do them fast. Oh, let me go there. Read gestures in cluster. You don't take one gesture separate from the other. So I'm looking at the feet and saying the guy is lying to me. I'm not even looking at the face. No, you read it in full, in cluster. You take the whole thing. You can't say I'm going to teach you facial expressions. So you take only the facial expressions and say this guy is lying to me. He doesn't love me. Do you understand? So you read it in cluster. You don't take it, you don't single them out. And then read it in separates. So the second rule is look for congruence. Look for congruence. Look for congruence. Look for congruence. Their words must match what they are saying. Whatever they are doing must match it. If you want to read it well, look for congruence. I hope you understand. The third one is read gestures in context. Read gestures in context. Don't go and read it roughly. Just, you're reading it, he's telling you something. For instance, the guy is saying, I love you, and he's shaking his head. Read it in context. If you love me, why is your body language in a negative direction? Oh, I love you. I love you. He's trying to say he doesn't love you. It's a fake response. So you have to take into consideration all these things. Let's move on very fast. They said my power. So it is with this that I want to do some few practicals. This thing, if I'm able to teach you nonverbal, so don't go to the other sections, my other slides, I'm okay. We're going to do the power games, handshaking. Do you know that when I meet somebody for the first time, my handshake also tells the person 90% of what I am, who I am, and how I am? 90%. 90% by handshake. So we're going to do a small exercise. You said you wanted to wild, right? So your partner, just shake the person's hand. Shake, pump, pump, pump. Shake it, pump, 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 pump. Pump, freeze. Now, the person whose hand is on top is the boss for the whole occasion. It's your boss for the whole occasion. 4,000 years ago, this is how the Romans used to greet. The Roman soldiers, after they go for training, when they meet, this is how they used to greet. They will meet, and then, okay, come. They will meet, and then when they meet, they greet. Now, when they greet this way, the one whose hand is up has the day. He's the one dominating, and that's where we got the word upper hand, because his hand is up. So on that night, when they go to the bar, he gets all the girls, the booze, and everything. You understand? They do that shaking after training. And then it grew, it changed. And it came to this way where they hold their fist. So if you've watched Spartacus and all those Asian movies, it came this way. So it changed from here, and it came here. And then they want to feel your muscles. They want to feel it. So they press it to feel how strong your arms are. You don't do it like a chicken. And then you understand. Exactly. And so it changed. And now it came to this way. Power games. Now I love Obama politically. I know Tava too likes him. So power games. Look at their facial expressions. It's just a handshake. But it's like they're fighting. Why? Handshakes are very important. If you don't shake it right, you are sending the wrong message. You are already, these guys are enemies. So if this guy gets the upper hand, you understand? So look at their facial expression, but it's just a handshake. You can even see their veins. Can you see that? That is the power of handshake. When you are greeting somebody, you make sure that you give the person the equal amount of energy, strength the person is giving you back. So when I'm meeting this guy for the first time, and then, now this guy has learned, he came last year, so he wants to kill me, but you understand? But you could see that this is it. We've shared it, 50-50. So on the table, you're not going to, you see, these things are not told. But then subconsciously, when his hand is up, you know this is your boss. You know, you feel it. Now this guy gets me. You understand? This is it. His hand is upper. He has won. He has dominated. Just in the meeting, just the handshake. It's not told. But then when you sit down, you know you're a fish. To the lion. You understand? So mastering these things are very key. So if you go for presentations, you are greeting your professors, they give you one handshake, you go and stand there, you forget all the things you're about to say. It exerts equal amount of energy anybody gives you. At best, you go on the dominant side. So if he gives you less, you have won already. But if you go low note and he gives you less, that means you have to apply the amount of energy to take for you to level the handshake. Are we on the same page? Are we learning something? Let's move on. See Putin and look at where they are looking. These two different. Do you know in the past 2 years, America has spent more than $2 million to study the body language of Putin? To know what Putin is thinking. To know what is his next step. To know what he's going to do next. Body language. More than $2 million. That's how important it is. Because if I can study your body language, I can know what you're about to do next. Let's move on. This other handshake. Maybe, for instance, the guy dominated you. When I pat you on your shoulder, I am equalizing the strength you gave me. So maybe I couldn't challenge you on the handshake level, but then before you go, I have to pat you, man. So Obama likes patting. If he's losing in the handshake, he will pat you. When I pat you, the last one to pat is the one who's dominating. So if your partner is also patting you, He'll be like, you'll be parting games. But you have to make sure it ends, Abby. You understand? Exactly. So that's how Obama also does it. So fingers and palms. Now let's do this fingers and palms. Now you see, I told you earlier that your fingers, your palms, has more connection to your brain more than any part of your body. In presentation, the way you throw your hands around will determine if your audience are listening to you, they are not listening to you, or you are talking rubbish. Now let's go here. This is palm down. When somebody does palm down, he's sending an authoritative message. I'm in command. I'm in authority. I'm dominating here. Imagine this guy doing Adolf Hitler. You see, he's a fish, man. You understand? So that's when Adolf Hitler does this, he's sending fear message around. Be very careful. Be very careful. And then, but before even that, I want to demonstrate something. Imagine you're in a group, you are in a place where they are doing a presentation, and then the host comes, and then I'm going to do 3 gestures with the palms, and you tell me which one you would readily comply with. And so he comes, and it's like, okay, those who are here, I want you to come forward. Those who are here, please come forward. Those who are here, come forward. Those who are here, you can sit anywhere you like. That's the first one. The second one, those who are here, come forward. You here, come forward. You, come. The rest of you here, you can sit wherever you are. That's the second one. Now the third one, those who are here, you can come. You here, come forward. You guys there, you can come. Those here, you can sit wherever you like. Which one would you easily comply? The first one. Yes, palm up always sends a submissive, welcoming message to anybody who listens. He said, hey, I'm ready to listen to you. I'm welcoming you. So maybe most of you do your presentations in class, and you are pointing at your professors. Subconsciously, they're saying, look at this guy. Look at this guy. You're pointing, and you're doing that. And some of you giving come here, and then, so say, this thing. Do you understand? But then there are instances where these things are needed. Imagine Adolf Hitler coming to say, this way. You know respect Adolf Hitler, right? Or imagine this place is burning, and then the fire service guy comes here. Oh, all of you can pass here. Will you go? No. But in those instances, he has to tell you, go here, you go here. So authoritatively, it sends a message, I know what I'm doing, I understand what I'm doing, and so this is what I want you to do. So each one has its own role, and each one has its own time they are used. You use it wrongly, you send the wrong message. A research was conducted, and people were judged based on this. The students that used pointed fingers, the lecturer didn't hear anything they said. In fact, they even insulted them the worst. But then the first two, this one was the second bad, and then the first one was the best. I mean, the palm up was the best. You understand? I'm being prompted. My time is up, but there's so much on this slide. So you look at Obama. That's when he wants to get his point across. He does that during debate. He wants to get his point across. Listen to me. This is a fact. This when he's talking to the people, fellow American people, welcoming them. Mitt Romney, during the debate, he did that, welcoming the audience. Obama does that, welcoming the audience. Now, this is it. Look at the face. No, look at the face. It shows that somebody is there, is not talking sense. Let me put this guy right. So, yeah, when somebody does that, he wants to just try to limit how he intimidates you. He's just making a point, stating a fact. So they like pressing their thumb to their finger. Not this one, but this one. You understand? So now this is a gesture of confidence. You're going to speak. You're fretting. You are shaking. You're shaking and you want a quick fix. Normally, best CEOs, top CEOs are found doing that. Look at those folks there. It's called steeple. You hold it that way. The steeple. And when you do that, it releases tension. It makes you feel confident. It makes you relax. So even in your presentation, if you are giving presentations and you are fretting, try it. Just so, sir, then you understand. But make sure it's within the range. All right? Your body language, one ground rule is that it shouldn't go outside your body range. It should just be your range. And whenever you do the body sign, you bring it back to default. You understand? You don't throw your hands anyway and then, you You understand? That's not it. It must be within your body range, your body space, and you give it. I want to run very fast. So now postures. How you stand is very important. How you stand. Look at how this guy, Obama, is standing. His feet are planted firmly. This is when he's making a point. Speakers don't move around plenty like how I'm doing, because I have to demonstrate for everybody to see. So forgive me. But if you're doing this training, you plant your feet, you speak after you get a point. If you want to change a point, then you can change your movement and you make another point. But then, if you're making a point, you want to limit your movement so that people can hear what you're saying. Because you're moving, they are following you with their eyes. So you plant your feet firmly, you don't slouch. You understand? And no, don't do that. You understand? Or why are you praying? Stand firm, shoulders straight. Then your feet are planted firmly. Then, now microphone technique also plays here. When you want to know somebody is being sincere, look at how they place their microphones. It's close to their chest. Obama will never play. It doesn't go far from his chest. When it's close to your chest, it means this guy is being truthful. He's being sincere. He's being real. Those, except singers, forgive them. They will hold it that way. Because they will scream at one point. You understand? But then if you are speaking, a speaker, it must be close. And you speak. All right? So, that's how we stand. Firmly planted. Now, when you hold your wrist, the longer you hold it, the more anxious you are.
Mr. Roland, I'm giving you 5 extra minutes because they're enjoying 5 extra minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Alvin. 5 extra minutes. So look at how he's holding the microphone. See, close to the chest. Now, he brings it back to default after making his gestures. Look at Obama. I'm just showing more pictures of Obama. I don't want to confuse you guys. But then at the proper time, that's why you guys have 1 year one-on-one training, right? So anytime you need this quick fix, we can do the rest there. But look at it. Now, the seating posture also talks a lot. How you sit. It speaks a lot. The seating posture. The seating posture. Study the way these men are sitting. That's how men sit. You don't sit and put your feet together like women do, no. For women, it's sexy. When they parallel, that guy was teaching how to pronounce L and R, right? When they put their legs straight like that, it's sexy for women. But for men, you have to dominate it. You have to show dominance. Your alpha male must show. You sit and you relax. Feel the chair. All right? Don't make the chair fool you. Facial expressions. My time is up, so go ahead. When you look at this facial expression, what does it say? Use your mic. What does it say?
Serious.
Serious. Giving a fair look at something. Analyzing something. Fair look. Analyzing something. What is this? Smiles, right? Happy. See the wrinkles there? See, that's a real smile. That's a real smile. See the wrinkles there? You see how wide that open? Fake one doesn't open that wide. What's going on? Lips are swallowed. No, he's not happy. He's disappointed. Now he's thinking whether to kill Osama bin Laden or to leave him alone. It lost in thought. Will he eat donuts? All right, so let's look at this one too. Look at how these parts. Study these things. At the right time, we would explain it. Alvin is tormenting my life. So let's study the facial expressions. Look at how surprised he is. You understand the body languages, right? The facial. Now let's go to gestures. Now this is how research shows that when women sit this way, men find this posture very attractive. So all those women who are opening their legs anyhow, I don't understand. You understand? I don't understand. Men find this sitting posture very attractive. So whenever you see this woman, this is it. Men find this very attractive, parallel. Do you know why they do that? It shows that they are feminine. It shows their legs. Women want to show their feminine. The ways they show their feminine, they show their roundness of their neck and then their legs. This is one good thing. But then, you see, now study these body languages. This is the part 2, part 2 of what I'm talking, the unofficial part. Now, this girl has visited this guy. When you look at this image, what do you see? Do you think the girl is interested in whatever the guy is saying? Yes. When you want to know that somebody is not interested in what you are saying, look at the position of their feet. Their feet are always in the direction of where they want to go. This guy is talking to this girl. The face is looking at, but her feet is pointing the door. She has even folded. When they do that, they are protecting themselves. They are being, no, let me save myself. You understand? She has even crossed the leg. So, guy, when a woman comes to visit you and she does this in your room, you should know this time for her to say, okay, can you go? You really want to go home? You understand? You're wasting your time. Now, this same posture, this guy is showing dominance. That's how men show their dominance. Now, when you want to approach, they bring one foot forward, and then they be like, okay, I'm coming forward, I'm showing dominance. But the lady has crossed the arms. The feet are pointing in an opposite direction to where the guy is. It shows the guy is wasting his time. You go to a place, you are chatting the girl up, then the girl is not even looking at your face. You are looking somewhere, stop and go. It's not by force. So these are the postures. When a man does this, he's protecting his genitals. He's saying, Charlie, let me play safe. You understand? Because men barely do that. But so when he does that, Charlie, no, let me play safe here. I don't know what's going to happen. But a woman is saying no-go area. He's protecting that region. He said no-go area. I'm not interested, man. So the way women sit, it talks a lot about them. Look at this woman too. When a woman comes to your room and she's interested, she gives you an open gesture. Open gestures are the ones, she doesn't fold her arms, her legs are not crossed, she's relaxed. That's a woman who say, okay, Oga, I'm here. Yes. Now, look at these gestures. This first one, they are facing each other. You can't see because of where, the resolutions. But then, ankle lock. Ankle lock. Women cross their ankles when they are shy, timid, and all that. They do ankle locks. When man does that, he opens the leg. He doesn't cross it like how parallel the woman's leg is. Sorry. So, ankle lock has its own meaning. Sometimes when people are they are shy, they are scared, they want to hide, they want to pull away. You understand? Now look at this. When somebody does this, leg twine, she's shy. The guy too is also shy. They are both leg twining. And you can also understand the situation, what that's happening there. One is chatting one. You get? The woman is shy, the man is shy. So this is when a woman does this, when you're talking to her, she's shy. When a man does this, man, you're also shy, man. You understand? Now, when a woman sits this way, the reason why I'm saying this is openness is that look at how she's sitting. Very open. But look at the people sitting there. They are kids. She won't do this in front of the easy men or the top big men. You understand? She won't go and do this in front of them because these kids can do her nothing. She's at ease. Open legs, and then she's talking. That's openness. Women does that a lot when the environment they are in is not so dangerous for them. You understand? Now, you see, the way some people hug, I'm going to wrap up. Guys, forgive me. I think I can stop the other one and then let's continue. So, the way people hug, the closeness of their hug determines how close they are. So this one even determined how Mitt Romney was close to his wife. And how Obama was also close to the wife. Look at how they were shaking. They were hugging. You understand? Exactly. So if a lady is giving you a hug, check those hugs. You understand? Now, the position of the legs. That means this picture, for instance, this one, this third guy is not wanted. Look at these two guys. Their feet are pointing to each other. Now they have to turn their head and listen. So, like, what new thing do you have to say? Say it and go. Do you understand? So, yeah, normally watch it. If you want to know if you're welcome in some people's conversation, just check all of this. You understand? Now let's go. Flirting. When a woman wants to flirt, she's in a club. Now this is the unofficial part. She's in a club. So research has said that men fail 3 times at the body language signals women send. The woman is in the club, maybe she's in the bar. She's interested in this guy, but the woman doesn't want to go far first. The girl is flecking the hair, turning the head. The guy's not picking it. Because when a woman flecks the hair backwards, tilts the head, it's a sign of showing the curvature, welcoming nature of how the woman is. And then she can even give you some eye contact and things. But men who are timid will never approach. This is one of the flirting styles of women. When a woman holds the waist and twists it up, she's flirting. I mean, she's welcoming you if you're ready. Now, when you're sitting with a woman, you want to know if this girl is, what you're saying, she's interested in you, what you're saying is actually going into her. Like, you've scored more points, about 50. You understand? You see that she's playing with the glass. She's fidgeting. It's like she wants to hold somebody, but there's nothing to hold. So let me hold the glass. There's another sign when how do you call it? The knees are pointing towards a direction, feeling free, laughing. She's flirting. I mean, she's welcoming you. When a woman sits at a place talking to a guy, she has removed one of the shoes, flirting like that, playing with it. Another flirting star. I mean, guys, today I came for you. When a woman is sitting with a guy, they go on a date, and then you realize that the back of the woman is in the middle. I mean, she's not scared of you. She's welcoming you. Whatever you have to say it. If you have a proposal, do it quick before you get. So these are signs. I wish I could go details of more. But you see, when men lie, their body language can be obvious. But women prefer to look busy as they lie. These are signs you have to know. When a woman is lying, she's always busy. You can't even catch her attention to let her get you the word she's saying. But when a man is lying, it's obvious. That hand thing I did, if your boyfriend goes out and you want to know if your boyfriend cheated on you, just do it on him. Roland, did you cheat on me? Just raise your hands and answer. But the way he raises the hand, I've showed you how the meanings to it, right? But the way he raises the hand, you can know if this guy really cheated. If he bends it, that means you have to pull the truth out of you. That means he did something, but he didn't really cheat. You understand? So, people use these emojis and they don't understand. I'm shy and all that. This is not shy. This when they want to, these monkey signs, well, they put laughter there, so that's why it's looking nice. But when they do this, they don't want to see something. It's like they are blocking the eyes. They don't want to see something bad. They don't want to hear something negative. They don't want to see evil. They don't want to hear evil. They don't want to talk evil. That's what it means. It's not that romantic way we all use in our messages. Ow, then. So some common line tips: the mouth cover, the nose touch. When somebody's lying to you, touching the nose, covering the mouth. All these things. The eye rub. The person is continuously rubbing the eye. What are you rubbing it for? Tell me the truth. Look in my eyes. The ear, all these things. The neck scratch. Yeah, that kind of thing. The collar pull. Fidgeting with the collar, and then fingers in mouth. You know, that's how children lie. So, I want to end with this. This is Hill. The 4 cornerstones of an effective, powerful communication. You need honesty. To be an effective person communicating, you have to be honest. You need authenticity. You need integrity. And you need love. Love is what makes everything beautiful. Without love, you talk and people don't listen. You don't connect. So you need all these things. So, with all this said and done, I want to say thank you for a successful nonverbal communication spirit. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Roland, yeah, questions. Thank you very much. Things we had wanted to hide from this lady, you've exposed everything today. Please, any question for him? We are taking 2 questions. Let's be very quick. But then before the question comes, I would like to remind you of the Stud Express discount card. It has over 30 vendors on campus, and the popular ones are Freddy's Kitchen, Husband and Wife, Brunei Cafeteria, Barbecue City, and Obasima, who happen to be a head beautician in Africa. The website is www.studexpress.com, and the number is 050-104-3872. I'll take it again, 050-104-3872. 050-104-3872. All right, the first question.
Yes.
Please, do you consider fashion?
Consider fashion.
In body language.
In body language. Your appearance counts a lot. Your appearance counts a lot. I was going to treat that in the next presentation I was going to have. That's how to prepare PowerPoint, and then as a presenter, how to present yourself. Your appearance matters a lot. Your appearance forms part of your brand. You understand? You are not expecting me to go and put on a cloth, like traditional cloth, and come and give you this presentation. So you make sure that your appearance is also making sense. You're not even being fashionably stupid. You understand? Study the occasion you're going. And then, because this question, is it in relation to public and non-verbals? Because appearance alone is in branding, that branding area. You understand? So we'll treat that, if I get the opportunity to do the second aspect, we'll treat about appearance and how it forms part of your brand. You can even, some of the pastors. All right.
The next question, please.
He wants to cut me short.
Next question. What's the next question? Okay.
Okay.
Somebody has a question? Okay.
Please, in verbal communication, which of the hand is best for handling the mic?
Which of the hands are better? You see, cultures differ. Let's not be ignorant of that. In some cultures, when your left is doing the gestures, they don't mind. You understand? That part also, that is a very vital part in nonverbal communication. The culture of the people you're going to talk to, you must know it. In Ghanaian parlor, in Ghanaian situations, you don't want to use your left to talk to them. So you hold the mic with your left, so that one will be holding, that one will be firm. Then your left with your right to gesture. Now, if you're using the lapel mics and all that, then you use both hands. So you study the culture of the people, and then you work with the hands that doesn't offend them. You understand? In the US, I can use my left. They are cool with that. But you can't do that in Ghana here. You understand me? Exactly.
All right, thank you very much. Sweetheart, I'm sorry, okay, when he comes back with the next presentation, I'll allow you to ask. All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Roland from Yankson Consult. The next speaker is going to be Mr. Duke Aaron Sasu. He happens to be the former SRC president of this institution. He's currently a student of law. He's the best public speaker. He was the best public speaker in Africa. I think that was about last 2 or 3 years ago. And then he's the first ever West African to ever have held that portfolio. Believe you me, he had a gathering of about 15 African presidents during his award take. And this man speaks to the heart. Without much ado, I'm going to invite Mr. Duke Aaron Sasu to take the podium. But then, in case you had questions that you were not allowed to ask, kindly jot them down. I think you have a review. Please hold on with the music for me. Hold on with the music. We would have time for you to do a review in about 5 minutes so that you can get all those questions. All right. So, Mr. Duke and Sasu, the audience are waiting for you, please. So, give it up for Mr. Duke and Sasu as he walks on stage. Kindly hold on first, but we'll get to you soon. Okay. I can hear some of the girls singing from behind that you're a fine gentleman already. Mr. Duke.
You said?
You're welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Are you sure you're fine?
Very fine. Thank you, sir.
Have you eaten?
Very well, sir.
Okay. Okay, so you can get interactive on social media. Let people know that it's being streamed live on YouTube. So if they want to watch, they can just get online and then get a live feed of what's happening. Sure. And don't forget, we are still live at Ideal Conference Center, KNH Poolside. And I want to remind you of the Stud Express discount card. All that you need to do is go online, www.studexpress.com, and the number is 050 104 3872. 050 104 3872. Mr. Duke,
Okay.
are you comfortable now?
Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Okay. My name is Duke Aaron Stasu. I'm a young man who is also learning about public speaking, and I'm here to learn together with you how best we can be in engaging our audience. But primarily, I want to share with you a story about the difference between impressing and impacting. The difference between impressing and impacting. In 2012, I attended my first competition in public speaking in Pretoria, South Africa, in a university by name Chawani University. Now, I managed to get to the semi-final of this competition, and I was asked to prepare my own speech, present it within 3 minutes on any topic I feel appropriate. Now, I realized that the panel was dominantly Southern African, from Namibia, Lesotho, South Africa, to mention but a few. So I decided to make my speech correlate with the South African anthem. So within about 1 minute, I started preparing and reading about the anthem of South Africa and all that. My focus in that semi-final was how I was going to impress my panel. It was actually disastrous in the semi-final. It was like someone trying to force himself to speak Ewe. Someone trying to force himself to speak Yoruba or any foreign language. Why? Because I did not have an understanding of my message. But at that moment, I thought that trying to recite what defined them would impress them. And that taught me a painful lesson that when you try to impress people, you fail. But when you try to impact people, you automatically impress them. There's a core difference in that. Trying to impress equals failure, and attempt to impact equals impressing. So most of us climb podiums, and we have never been to England before or to the UK before, but our accent is so amazing. Some of us try to speak to people, and the way we put up our voice or how we even present ourselves, our entire focus is how we can impress our audience. So we end up failing because our focus is not about how we can impact them, but how we can impress them. That is the lesson I learned. To be a speaker, there are certain fundamentals that we have to address. But primarily, I want to first of all talk about 4 types of speakers. I believe that my fellow speakers have addressed different aspects of public speaking, so it is not necessary for me to delve into all aspects. But before I delve into the core message, which is engaging your audience today, let me talk about 4 types of speakers. Number 1 is informational speakers. Most of our lecturers happen to be informational speakers. I remember when I was a student of economics in this university, in 3rd year, we had this lecturer who will come to class, and all she does is to read her handout to us. So the following week, we come to class, and she asks us a question, and she says that we treated that in class last week. Then we are all staring in each other's faces because we do not understand or remember when we did that in class. Because all she does is to pour information on us. So most teachers, most lecturers are informational speakers. They come to class and only provide information to you. So once you write it down, you end up not remembering even what happened in class. The next type is motivational speakers. Most of our pastors are motivational speakers. They stir fire in you in a moment, and you can give $100,000 without even knowing you are giving it. That is how the fire is, because they motivate you, and that fire is within a short time. So within that moment, you are filled with so much fire that you are compelled to give more than you have. Most of our pastors do that. Then we have what we call the informational speakers or the inspirational speakers. The difference between the motivational and inspirational is about how long the substance of their message stays with you. So with the inspirational, probably beyond the auditorium for about a week or 2, you are compelled to probably readjust yourself and think about them here and there and see how you can apply their concepts or precepts to your own life. So that's the difference between the motivational and the inspirational. It's about time, how long their message or their substance stays with you. The next is transformational speaker. Everybody say transformational speaker. It's what we should all aspire to be. Now, when you finish speaking, how well do people want to relate with your message? How well do you challenge people that your message compels them to restructure their lives. So these people are people we call, they are life coaches. So someone like, I'll give an example of someone I admire so much, the late Dr. Miles Monroe. And he speaks, and I believe that you are compelled to go on to apply his precepts, his concept about the kingdom to your life. So some pastors such as Nicholas Duncan Williams, Dr. Mensa Otabel, these are people whose addresses compel you to go beyond who you are and you are for, because they engage with you and they relate with you and their messages stick with you. So it's all about how long the substance of their message sets the fire in you in that principle. So that's about time. Now, how to achieve any level of these types of speakers, whether informational, motivational, inspirational, or transformational, is dependent on how you engage with your audience. You might have brilliant ideas, but if you cannot get them across, your brains will not get you anywhere. Once again, you might have brilliant ideas, but if you cannot get your ideas across, your brains will not get you anywhere. In other words, no matter how solid or great your message is, if you cannot connect with your audience and communicate your message appropriately, your brains will not get you anywhere. So how do you engage with your audience? Number one is that you need to understand your audience. Write this down. You cannot conquer what you do not understand. You cannot conquer what you do not understand. One of the most powerful elements in the world is the power of words. Words have transformed nations. Words have transformed organizations. But if you do not understand your target audience, you wouldn't know how to apply the power of these words in transforming your target audience. So understanding is key. How do you understand your audience? For the past week or two, I kept on calling the organizers, asking them about the composition of the audience. Who and who are coming? Are they students? Are they CEOs? Are they lecturers? Are they high school students? Why? Because I needed to understand the composition so that I know what they need and how I can fine-tune my message to relate to their needs and wants. Most students are looking for how they're going to present their dissertations and all. How do I confidently approach my lecturers and my professors who are addressing them in class and making presentations in class? If you are a parent, how do I communicate with my children? If you are an entrepreneur, how do I communicate with investors? So understanding your target audience is key. And one way is that while you guys were having lunch, I had interaction with a few people, and I asked them that, what do they expect to hear? So I could prepare my message and fine-tune it to their expectation. So understanding your audience is key in principle. Again, let your message matter. Let your message matter. Now, tomorrow is the 19th of November. It's exactly 154 years since Abraham Lincoln gave a speech called the Gettysburg Address. Now, we remember his speech not because of how succinct his English language is, not because of how well-dressed he is, but because of the substance of his message. How important his message addressed the principle of human rights and how the Bill of Rights have become relevant because he added his voice to its relevance. So no matter how well you speak, if your message is not critical to the moment, then you're wasting your time. Some of us like talking at any time that we want. How relevant is your message? How important is your communication? How relevant is what you want to say to the audience? So by understanding the audience, you know what is relevant to them in principle. So you need to make your message matter. So substance is important. And making your substance matter comes from how well you've read, okay, your experience and all, and how well you have researched. So research your experiences and your reading. The wider your imagination, the wider your orientation, the greater the matter that you present to people. Now, tell your story or have a story. Now, how do I connect with you? People connect more with people who have their experiences aligned with their message. So today, I could tell you about impressing and impacting because I could share my message as to how I failed in 2012 during a public speaking championship in South Africa because I try to impress people. So there's a correlation between my experiences and what is necessary for you too. So I'll be willing to tell your story. And in telling your story, it's not about your experiences. It's about the books you've read. You cannot tell what you cannot imagine. And you cannot imagine beyond your orientation. Your orientation is defined by where you've been and the books you've read. If your entire life you have stayed in Kumasi, you cannot tell us a story beyond Kumasi. Why? Because that is your experience. In the current trend of social media, probably you have heard things here and there, but in principle, the foundation is that the books you've read. If you've not read the books of Malcolm Gladwell, you cannot tell us principles that you can relate with outliers. You've not read George Freeman or whatever about the next 100 years. You cannot apply concepts about how globalization will affect the next generation. The books you read can influence the kind of stories you tell. And your life story also is also relevant in relating to the kind of stories that you can share principle. So now the next one is making eye contact. I'm being very fast because I've been told that my time is very short. Now, making eye contact. Now, one person whom I believe is historically the greatest in eye contact is former U.S. President Bill Clinton. Former U.S. President Bill Clinton. During the 1992 presidential debate, he was asked a question as to how come he's so good with the audience. He speaks and people are so marveled. People want to listen to him. And he said that it's because I don't speak with the entire audience. You know what he does? He picks one person in the audience and he ends up having a one-on-one communication with that person. So it might be about rape. So I look in the audience and I pick the gentleman there and I tell him a story as to how someone in my community, okay, has been affected by rape. So that one-on-one communication with that person, because when you're trying to shift your eyes all around, you end up probably being distracted. But when you pick one person in the audience and keep that eye contact, there is this principle, what we call an atomic principle, which ends up expanding and influencing every other person in the room. So my strategy is that I pick one person in the audience, and then what I do is that I relate with that person. So let's try it out here. I want anybody to ask me any question that I should express my view on any topic or anything in the world. Anybody. Any topic in the world. Just bring it up. That I should express my view on it. I want to show you how you can communicate to people, make eye contact, so that it becomes relevant to everybody. So I want one person to do that for us. Anybody?
So what is your view on GMOs?
On
GMOs.
you mean on genetically modified foods?
Yes.
Thank you. What's your name, sir?
I'm Benjamin.
Benjamin. Benjamin, I don't understand the scientific relationship of what you are referring to. But what I understand is that healthcare is important to our generation. And as policymakers, we need to set standards that will protect posterity, that will protect our children, protect our families within the community. This is essential. GMOs must be addressed head-on. If we fail not just ourselves, but we fail the very people coming after us. I'm talking about your grandchildren. I'm talking about a young girl in your community who is affected by his or her ignorance because he does not understand what these wrong policies does to him or her. And that is what I'm referring to. Thank you so much. So, when you do this, I'm not looking at you, but I'm trying to connect with him. Nicholas, again. Ben. I'm trying to connect with him. By connecting with him, everybody wants to hear what is going on because naturally, we are all, excuse me to say, we are gossips. So everybody wants to hear what's happening here. So I pull your energy here. So I apply the atomic principle that once the energy is concentrated here, okay, and so all my electrons, all my protons and neutrons are here, there was going to be Einstein's principle where there's an expansion of the atom and that energy is translated throughout the auditorium. But all my energy is right here. However, I just did something wrong. You don't just cut off with him. Before you end it, you try to show that you are gradually moving. Okay, so you shouldn't just end and say that after you've spoken to him or Eben, then just move away. So Eben, as I said, thank you so much, then you move. No. What Bill Clinton will tell you is that gradually move, gradually say goodbye. So as I'm talking to you, once I'm about ending, I'm gradually shifting my body. So you know that I'm about ending my communication with you. So Eben, okay, it is necessary that as policymakers, we address this issue head on, in principle. And that is what should inspire all of us in setting up policies and standards that addresses genetically modified foods. So I move away gradually, okay, and in that way, I do not abruptly cease communication with you. Is that clear? Sure. So that is on eye contact, okay? So it's about primarily picking one person in the audience and speaking with that person. So you can just speak about 3 people in the audience. So whilst you are speaking, I can pick Eben, I can pick someone from here. What's your name, please? Excuse me? Sonia. So I can pick Sonia, I can pick Eben, another person from here. So when I come here, I'm communicating with Sonia. But everybody here is because they want to gossip and they want to hear what's happening between myself and Sonia. But all my energy is focused based on atomic principle on what happens here. That is why I believe that public speaking is science. It's about how you exert your energy and how you can apply that energy credibly. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is using the required tools. So in your presentations, whether you're a student of architecture, a student of settlement planning, of economics, using the required tools is important. Why? Because you need to create the right reflection of your message. Tools can even be pictorial. So in the speaker before me used pictures as tools that have a direct correlation with the message he wants to send across. So you do not use bar charts when there's no need to. Let your charts or your tools reflect your message. That is important. The next thing is passion. Passion. You have people who are talking about something emotional, about how people have probably died from flooding and all, and it is important that you talk about this for us. If not, we are all going to die. I beg of you. It is really, really troubling. We beg. Say, if you don't do something about it, wahala. How passionate you speak alone can move people. There are people who lack substance, but when they speak, especially sometimes our women, when they speak with that level of passion, their message might not be important. But at that moment, they might become like the pastors who are the motivational speakers who convince you, the man, to pull out some huge amount of money for them without knowing it. Passion is important. Passion shows how serious you are about your message, how important your message is to you. If your message is not important to yourself, then you cannot convince me to buy into that message. So why should I buy your message? Number one is because I am willing to use that product myself. So your words are your product. Your audience are your potential consumers. If you are not willing to use your product, then how do you convince me to use it myself? So to show the credibility of your product is by using that product yourself. And in communication, we express that reality through passion. How passionate are you? And you shouldn't be passionate about being dramatic. It's about being you, but expressing sincerely. Sometimes even the kind of words you use can communicate passion. So how sincerely you are about this message. And that is important. I'm bringing my message to a close. The next thing is close strongly. Someone has started so rightly engaged with good eye contact, so much passion. Then he ends with a message that does not correlate with all what he said. I was watching an interview on TV3 a couple of days back about this national service personnel and how they are being taxed for some insurance and all. And there was a guy, I've forgotten his name. This guy had spoken so clearly, very nicely. And his message, he made sense. Then he was asked a last question that give your last opinion. Then he goes like, I'm sure it is the party in opposition who is doing this. At that moment, everybody, I was actually in a barbering shop at the time, everybody was like, I've lost my respect for this guy. You are speaking so nicely, so intellectually, and your last statement now moves to how some politicians are trying to nullify your idea. It might be necessary at some point in time, but at that moment, we were respecting him for his views. but he brought in politics and it nullified the rationality of what he was saying. So what you are saying lastly should correlate with all what you said. It's like a summary. So if what you said at last is a clear differentiation with all what you said, then you have wasted your time. Because your last words should be what leaves a mark in the minds of your audience. I remember in 2013, in Calabar, Nigeria, when I was privileged to become the first West African to ever become Africa's public speaking champion. After the speech, about a month or two later, a young girl from Tanzania messaged me on Facebook, and he said that, Duke, thank you so much for your message. Why? Because your message continues to resonate in my mind. And I asked her why. He said that your last statement, and I actually don't remember what I said on that platform, but apparently I said something that summed up the entire message, that till date, she's compelled to send me a message and appreciate me for all that I had said. So what you say in conclusion, if it's highly irrelevant, it nullifies all what you said. So once again, it's about your research. It can even be your conclusion can even be a story. And but I also always advise against multiple stories. They can confuse you. Mostly, I advise that you hang on one story and weave your message around your story. So that message runs true. So probably if I'm talking about impressing and impacting, I tell you that in conclusion, just as I faced that horrible fate in South Africa in 2012, there is a need for you to understand that it's better to seek to impact people than to impress people. Thank you. So that conclusion has summed up all what I've said historically. Before I conclude, I want us to have a little engagement. Now, we're going to go back to basically what problems or what is so annoying, okay, that some speakers do. So you're going to tell your colleague, I'm going to ask your colleague, the one sitting next to you, so you're going to have A, B, okay, so you are sitting in 6 and 4s. So the one sitting next to you, you ask him that what experience has he or she had that has been so annoying that someone was speaking or making a presentation, and at that moment, it put him or her off. Okay, so you went for a program somewhere, or you're listening to someone on radio or TV, and how the person was addressing his or her audience, that moment alone killed your interest. So quick, within just about 30 seconds or 20 seconds, tell the one sitting next to you, share your experience with that person right now. What experience have you had? What experience did you have? Okay, so I'm sure we've communicated whatever you want to say. So I'm going to ask just two people. All right? So anybody, tell me what your colleague said, not what you said. Okay? I'm going to start from here, the back there. Someone from the back that should tell us. What did your colleague say? Okay. I want you to use that. Good.
Please, she said that the problem has to do with speakers bringing their personal...
Can you get close to the mic?
Oh, okay, thank you. She said a situation where speakers tend to bring their personal sentiments into what they're saying, their emotions, and that gets them off the hook. For instance, if they are saying about, let's say, family planning, and they tend to share their experience, as in bringing their emotions, trying to make people know why for them it's good for them. It gets the listeners off the hook.
Where is she? He or she? Madam, do you mind sharing with us that particular experience? What happened? What happened in that experience? Is that an experience or just an observation? Please come forward. Come and sit on that chair for us. Thank you. Sorry, sir. What's your name?
Baden, Stanley.
Stanley. Okay, Stanley. Good. Thank you, Stanley. Madam, what's your name?
I'm Gloria.
Gloria. Okay, Gloria. What was your experience about family planning?
Family planning. No, it's not a specific thing.
Okay.
But I get as in, when speakers try to talk more about what they've experienced, as in they get to make the topic more about themselves.
Okay.
at times it puts me off.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Gloria. Anybody else? One more person. Someone from back there. Anybody, please?
Okay, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. What's your name?
Ajogu Isabella.
Ajobi.
Ajogu Isabella.
Ajogu. Am I right?
Yes.
Thank you. Ajogu, let's hear you.
Okay. So my partner said that when people are using their native language,
They're using
their native language
Okay.
to interact with her, it pisses her off.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you. So from the experiences about native, so it goes to the fact that you have to understand your audience. Okay? So you are addressing people who probably do not understand your language, and you're using your own native language as an example. I think early on today, I used the local dialect. I'm sure that most people who do not understand will be like, hey, what are you talking about? If I do not go further to explain. So understanding your audience and their composition and how the language you are using relates to them is important. Else you are standing there and they're telling you how big your head is, how small your mouth is, how annoying you are. Some of them even go to the extent of drawing you. Why? Because you do not understand the composition of your audience, hence your message is not shaped to address their needs and wants. And Gloria talks about how people overshare their experiences. So there's a need to differentiate your story from your message. Your story is like an introduction. You cannot make your story 70% of your entire speech, and just about 30% being your core message. That's annoying. We're not here to listen to your biography. Okay, we are here to basically listen to your message. Share with us briefly your experience, then focus more on what the message is. So you can make your message relate to your story, but your story might be just brief. Then you apply the principles in your story in your message. When you over-rely on your story, you get people, because the truth is that no one cares about you. They care about your contents, not you. You're listening to me not because probably I'm nice or something like that, because you want to listen to my message. What do I have for you? By nature, human beings are selfish. So if your speech or your message is not aligned to my expectations, I don't listen to you. I'm not here to listen to your life story. I came to be impacted. So briefly, I apply credibility. The reason why I tell a story is because it gives me credibility that, hey, I know what I'm talking about. I've had that experience before. But I have to make it brief. And once it's brief, I apply the principles in that story to my message. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duke and Sasu. We are going to take two questions. Let me look this way. Okay.
Hello. Good afternoon.
You kindly speak louder so that those behind can hear you. Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I've been in a situation.
Sorry, please, what's your name?
I'm Victor.
Victor.
Yes, please. I've been in a situation where I understood my audience. Like you made reference to understanding your audience earlier. For me, I've been in a situation where I understood my audience and I tried conveying my message to them, and yet they still didn't understand me. So I really need to know how I should step up this game, or how I should go through such experience.
Okay.
Do you understand?
The name again, sorry.
Did you understand?
Your name again.
Victor.
Victor. Okay, Victor.
Mr. Duke, kindly let's take the next question so that you address the two simultaneously. We get to go. All right.
Okay, good afternoon again. My name is Victor too.
Your name is?
Victor.
Victor.
Victor, yes. This is my namesake. So my question is, like, in an arena where you are supposed to give a message, and when you know that people are there to analyze the way you speak and also your body language and all those things, how do you go about it? Because sometimes it could make someone become nervous. Like you are coming to address some people, and then you have others analyzing the way you speak, and everything. So I want to know how we can go about it. Thank you.
Okay, so we have Victor 1 and Victor 2.
You can call me Gatsby. Just for different.
No problem. Are you okay with Victor 1?
No.
All right. I think you all relate with Victor 1 and Victor 2 better, all right? So let's do that. Okay. So Victor 1 wants to know that you understand your audience, you have prepared your message to suit them, yet they don't understand you. Is that what you're saying? Good. So then there's a problem in your message. Okay? So, because when I was talking about engaging your audience, I didn't just talk about understanding them. I spoke about eye contact. I spoke about passion. I spoke about telling a story. In summary, I'm talking about how to connect with your audience. Okay, so probably for a moment, they were not getting you because there was a lack of connection somewhere. But primarily, I've said this over and over again, that the furthest a man can go is how far he can imagine. And the furthest a man can imagine is based on your orientation. And your orientation is based on the books you've read and where you've been. So I'm someone who likes traveling because traveling gives me experiences. I remember I can talk about, I was telling the former vice chancellor about how we can apply the concept of of a Wi-Fi in the buses system. The bus project started about 2 years ago, 2013 time, called the bus system, and how we can apply a Wi-Fi in these buses and it become a model for the entire country. Why? Because in Kenya and in Rwanda and even in Malaysia, on their trains, from the airport to wherever you are going, their trains, they have free Wi-Fi, and that is helping young people in terms of accessing technology and all. I could say this because I have experienced it. I could share my story with him because I've experienced it. So your experience is important. So what it means is that your message or your content had a problem, number one, or you are not communicating with your audience well. You understood them, okay, so you know where they are. Then you have your weapon. So you are David, you know where Goliath is. But when you threw your stone, there was a disconnect between the trajectory from where David was and where Goliath is standing. You understand me? So you need to reassess the direction of your arrow. So your audience is your target. You are where the weapon is. Be your message. It's about how does your weapon get your target. And that is based on your skill of communication. And it's also about your content. So, number one, you have to reassess what was my content. And how was I communicating with them? Was I being just informational, like my lecturer in third year? Or was I just being someone else? So these are things that I will advise that you reassess. I don't know if I've answered your question primarily. Good. So on Victor 2, Victor 2 wants to primarily know about how to address when people are very expectant of you. My advice is that act you. Be yourself. Do not compel others to transform who you are. You are you. You are unique. So some of us try to impress people. So you are on a panel and you want to speak for them to love you, to fall in love with you. No. Make it such so if someone even hates you on that platform, when you are done, what they remember is the substance of your message. You need to ignore what people expect of you. We are allowing the expectations of society to limit who we are. We are allowing people's views of us to limit what we can do. And that is what is killing people, not just in public speaking, but in every facet of our lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duke and Sasu. We can relieve you now. It's a pleasure having you today. We are going to go to the practical session very soon. This was going to happen. There are 3 areas for the practical session. This particular auditorium is one. This was going to happen. We are going to have 3 areas for the practical sessions. Mr. Joel Tofa will be taking the IT lab, that's to my left, through this particular left entrance. Okay, as I'm seated here, to the left entrance, there's a particular room there. That's where Joel Tofa will be. And then Duke and Sasu is also going to be on my right, through this entrance. and then Mr. Roland Yankson is going to be here in the auditorium. So we are going to section ourselves. I'm going to do the division. So we are going to rotate. Okay, you go here for some minutes, then you get to Telfa for some minutes, then you come to the auditorium for some minutes. What I was saying is that we are going to be in 3 sessions, okay? That's the door to the first room. This is the second place, and that's the third area. So Mr. Joe Telfa is going to be here. Roland Yankson is going to be within this room. Then Duke Sasu will be at the other end. So this is what we're going to do. We will segregate ourselves into 3 bodies. Then we'll share amongst the places. Then we'll rotate. So from Mr. Duke's place, you get to Telfa's place, then you come here. Then those here will move to Duke. Then those from Telfa will also come inside. You get it? But then before we go to the practical side, we're going to have a PowerPoint presentation. That comes along with Brandon. Mr. Roland Yankson is going to handle that first. It's going to be very, very short and brief as well.
Really tired. So, how many of you are sincerely tired? It's been a long day. You are tired, and you want to run away. You know, in as much as you guys want to run away, there's another part of us that says, okay, we told you we're going to give you this, and we want to stay true to our words, all right? So we don't give you a substandard thing, and especially those who brought your laptops. Carrying it is not funny. So let's make use of it. Are we on the same page? All right. So you can bring your laptops. We're going to do some simple things very fast, and I'll run away. But then I've been puzzled. I was wondering, why do I was wondering, why do our PowerPoints look the way they look? Do you know your PowerPoint, the way you design your PowerPoint has everything to do with even how you respect the people you are going to show your PowerPoint to, and even talks about you. In our classrooms, you see people present any PowerPoints like that, and then you are wondering, why? What's up? Are you fighting, boss? Is it on? It's not. Okay, he's going to work on it. Okay. So how you present your PowerPoint has everything to do with what you're dealing with. Now, this is a research we did. We realized that this is a work that was done by one of the highly reputed universities. Now, how do you look at this PowerPoint? How do you look at this PowerPoint? Look at this one too. This one was the US-based military men giving an update of what was happening in Afghanistan. And look at how they did their PowerPoint. What can you see? What can you read? This is how many of us do our PowerPoints when you're in class. Now, this is one final year student in building technology 4 years ago, his PowerPoint. What can you read? What do you see from this? But by the way, you can open to your PowerPoint place where during the practicals I'll be here, so you can open it there, and so when you go around and you come here, I'll teach you some basic things. So this is another, this one actually, the manager that did this was voted in 2010 the worst presentation that was made by a public CEO. Look at what he did. What can you see? What is he talking about? These are some of the slides people do in their class and show their lecturers, and they are expecting higher marks. And you do this. Look at this. That's what some of us will do. Look at the background. Look at how everything is. What can you read here? Nothing. So, when you design PowerPoints like this, in the space of 30 seconds, your audience forget 90% of what you said. 30 seconds, 90% of what you said, they forgot. 30 seconds, 90%, because your PowerPoint was rubbish. So, it is on this quote, I got this quote from John, one of the best neurosurgeons, and this is where I want to start my presentation on PowerPoint. It says if companies would have as little respect for businesses as they have for presentations, the majority would go bankrupt. If you like, remove companies and put students. Many students fail because of their PowerPoint. Many students fail because of their PowerPoint. So let's move on. Let's move on very fast. This is the reason why I am going to present to you on the PowerPoint of PowerPoint. All right? The PowerPoint of PowerPoint. I want to give you some 5 design principles. You know, I can't exhaust everything, especially if you're a novice in PowerPoint, then make use of the 1-year training thing we have with you, and then use that properly. But then for here, I'm going to teach you some 5 basic design principles. Basic design principles you should know about PowerPoint. Now, this is it. The first one is one message. Now, I got this from one of our trainees, guys we are training, and then this is how his PowerPoint was. Now, the brain of the human being is designed in such a way that it can't take this plenty rubbish at the same time. So you narrow it so that people can hear you. So why don't you take one from there and then you put only one message there? So you take one, no, there were 2. Now you take one from there and then you put only one message per slide. That's one of the design principles. Sometimes we want to crump everything into one slide. So you want to squeeze and save some space. And what are you saving the space for? Is it your father's own? Release yourself. Don't congest your message. One message, one slide. Do we get this very clear? Now, let's go on. Number 2 is working memory. Working memory. Now, the best neurosurgeons came up with something. They said if you have one message on your slide and you are also talking in addition to it, like you have sentences on your slide and you're also talking in addition to the sentences, it causes what we call the redundancy syndrome, whereby it's 1 + 1 is equal to what? 0. You have a lot of sentences on your slide. You're not even making them read the sentence. You're also coupling it with plenty words like I'm doing. You are giving your audience the redundancy syndrome, whereby they don't hear, they don't capture in 90%, in 30 seconds, they forget 90% of what you said. So, how do we go about this? Now, this is it. Look at this. Look at this. This is plenty messages. If I add talking to this one, I'm going to disturb you. What are you focusing on? The words I'm saying or the PowerPoint? So you should avoid having plenty sentences and also speaking plenty at the same time. If you're going to have plenty sentences, speak little, speak less. You can also alternatively do it this way. Now, it's the same thing. You know what I did? I pushed the words. You know, some of you have not used the notes portion in your PowerPoint. There's a portion beneath, downward. They've written notes. So you can put all your plenty notes there. Then all the things you were saying plenty. You know, I was talking about display. Why don't you use a picture and then put some small bullets beside it? So if you look here, I've brought a picture to describe what I was going to display here. And then the words that were here, I've brought them down here to the notes column. And then I've replaced it with a picture and just gave some few description. This way, I'm giving them a pictorial view of it. And then there's no plenty words. Just some few words and a picture. This down here will not come. It will come. I did this because I want to show you this part. But this is how it will come. This is how your people will see it. This is how they will see it. But then on the screen, you can read the notes there. So I limit the number of words. If I know I'm going to talk plenty, I use pictures also. That's working memory. So I don't cause the redundancy syndrome. That's the second design principle. There are as many as more than 100 design principles, but I don't give you the basic 5. Basic 5. Very important 5. Now let's go to number 3, size. Size matters a lot. Size matters a lot. Size matters a lot. Now, let me give you one key thing. when you close your eyes and you open your eyes, there are 4 things that your eyes will be focused on. 1, contrasting colors. 2, big objects. 3, the moving objects. Your eyes will be focused on moving objects. That's when you close your eyes and you open your eyes. And then the 4th one is big objects. Haven't you realized that maybe you are talking to a friend, the TV volume is down, but the person is looking at the TV. He's not even looking at you. Because 1, it has moving objects, it has contrasting colors, contrasting colors. And then, I'm tired, forgive me. And then, it also has these objects there, so it catches your attention. That is how size plays a role. Some of us, we don't understand the importance of size in our slides. So sometimes when you prepare slides, and then look, your topic, the heading. Now, when you look at this slide, for instance, where does your attention draws to first? Pardon? The heading. But is the heading the most important part of your slide? Is that what you're going to talk about? No. So write it down. The most important part of your slide should be the biggest. If the heading is not the important part, don't make it the biggest. So now when I do it this way, where does your eyes draw to? The details. Because it's what is important to me. I want to tell you the details, not the heading. So now when I do it, now you see here is a heading. Here, the details. Heading. Details. You understand? Look at how your eyes is moving. When I bring it here, it automatically goes to the heading. Here, it goes to the details. Now, let's move on. Number 4, it's contrast. Contrast remains the number 1 important tool in PowerPoint. If you use it very well, you can enhance your PowerPoint effectively. Contrast. 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 Now, look at this. Now, when I do this, your eyes are scattered everywhere. You don't know which one you are looking at. You don't know which one you are focusing on. So, which one are you making a point on? You just have to be using the pointer to be pointing this and that. But then when you're using contrast, this is how it's going to be like. When I'm using contrast, the first one will come, Retina HD display. Then, it doesn't go away because this thing is dark. That's why you can't see. I dim it. So, with the mouse, I can show you where I'm laying the emphasis on. Do you understand? We use contrast to lay emphasis. So now I'm on retina. Now I go to this one. Then 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 I go on. I go on. I go on. Now you see how your eyes are moving. You are following the movement. So I am controlling what I want you to see. It's better than the first one where they are all together like one big family. You don't even know which one you're focusing on. So which one is better? The one that is moving that you can see. Okay, this, that. I'm using contrast. The words are there, but they are faint. Because the screen is black, you guys cannot see it. That. You see? Now, I want to talk about something. Now, you can also use this. I will teach you how to design this. Now, you see how it's moving. So I'm using this box to show which one I'm actually going to talk about. You see how it works? You can use this to show emphasis. Some of you, when you're preparing PowerPoint, you just threw the words together, and that is all. So how do you lay emphasis on the ones that are important? This is another design principle when you employ, it will enhance it. It makes your audience, your followers, know where you're moving, one after the other. They are following you like that. They are following you like that. Do you understand? Now, see how contrast works. I'm doing a table with contrast. Look at how it's going. Now, I'm showing emphasis. By this time, I'm talking. I've done that. I've brought the dollar. Now, this is contrast. They were all there before. But then, as I'm talking, I'm laying emphasis on the ones that are important. Look at how they're moving away. But the table is still there. I've taken my dollars off. Now, I can put my figures back. I'm putting my figures back. These are contrasts. It makes your work beautiful. It makes your people relax. They are watching you and they're like, oh. You understand? Contrast. It makes your people relax. Now, number 5 is background. Background. You know, what a lot of us have been trained to do is that we should use white background. White background. But you see, What is the characteristics of a white background? It's bright. It steals your attention away. It makes you focus on the slide. But never forget that the slides are your visual aid. You are the presentation. You are always the presentation. Your slides should not outshine you because you are the one presented. The slides are the visual aid helping you to make your communication. So when you make this one white, who is now taking the attention? Your mind is on the white, right? But what if I make it black? Now, when I make it black, I shine. Only the words I want you to see, it's appearing. The rest of the focus is on me. When you make it white, that means you have to wear contrasting colors and be dancing around the stage because if you don't take care, they will attention will never come to you. Do you understand? So you make it black. When you make it black, the world is changing. People are not used to doing. That's why you saw my PowerPoint. The first one was black. This one is also black. When you make it black, what I'm saying is that I want you to focus on what is important, what I'm trying to say. I don't want my background to outshine me. I want the words I want you to see be the one shining. So now, you see, you can see the dark background. And that is it. You can employ this. It can also enhance your work. It can also enhance your work. Okay? So let's go to the second one. Less objects. Now we're going to do something. We're going to do a simple study, and this is the last part. Then we wrap it up. Then we do the practicals. Now, how many objects do I have here? Count it. Let's count it. How many? You see, it's taking you time to count. Now, let's do this. Can you count this? Now, let me go back. We're going to do an exercise. I want to measure the number of seconds you will use this to count. And when you're done counting, just... What would you do to make me know you're done? Say done or raise your hand, all right? So I want to know how many seconds it will take you to count these objects. Let's count it. 14 seconds. It's 14. It took you how many seconds? More than 3 seconds to count it. Now let's go to this. How many seconds will it take you to count this? Now that one took you 1.3 seconds to count and know that there are 7. Now how many seconds will it take you to count this? This took you 0.2 seconds. Now this is what it means. That means your mind takes 500%. Because 0.2 and the first one, it took you more than 2 seconds to count it. This one took you less than 0.2 seconds to count this. That means your mind takes more than 500% of energy to count when the figures, the things are plenty, as compared to when they are few. So when they are few, you just see it and you know it. When they are plenty, you have to count it. What is the lesson here? The lesson is that your mind takes more energy in counting than in seeing. So the lesser your objects, the better. Because when it's less, they just see it and that's all. When it's plenty, they have to go through, and you get the point. So what is the standard number of objects that should be on your slides? 6. 6. Standard number of objects. When it's 6, you don't put stress on the viewers. Maybe in your slide, they've said list something, 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 and there were 14 points. You want to save slides. The slide is not your bank account. Divide it. Don't jam everything into one slide. You make it look bad. 6. Let's see. This is the first one. Plenty. Now, this is it. Isn't this relaxing? This is where your eyes go, whew. This is where it goes, whew. Do I have to count all these? Do I have to read all these? Okay. Rectangle, 1, 4. You see the difference? Your eye widens, want to read all, you relax. So don't put many things on your slide. These are basic design principles. Basic design principles. When you do this, number 7 is font size and style. I don't want to go in there, but then the size is very important. The size is very important. And the font style you use. Normally, people who use Caliber times New Roman, these are the archaic people. They don't like change. They are the default setting people type. Lazy. So immediately he goes, the font that is there, that's what he's using. It doesn't even go through to, you get a point. Because most often your fonts also talk about your brand. Well, at Janssen Consult, we have a brand. All our letters, everything is in Kandara. So we have a definite font for everything we do. Our letters, our posters, design, everything is in Kandara. You can have a font for yourself. Every font has its own meaning. During our one-on-one training time, we'll talk to you about all these things. But then these are the very basic principles, design principles in a PowerPoint. Now, for me to know that I've really said something and you've captured more, what was the first one I said? It was the first design principle. That means you guys didn't retain. Pardon? One message. What was the second design principle? Working memory. The third one, size. The fourth one, the fifth one, the sixth one, the seventh one. So which one is your best? Pardon? Contrast. So these are the basic design. We are assuming that all of you can prepare slides, but we are giving you these addition tidbits to enhance your slide preparation. There are many others. So as time goes on, when you have a slide you're going to present, you can call on us, we'll come and check it and see which one applies and how you can do that and that. You get the point? And make it beautiful. When you do it that way, when you're speaking to your audience, they feel respected. So people will be saying, Roland, when I do this, the slides will be plenty. Yes. The problem has never been the number of slides. The problem has always been the number of messages per slide. So you can have 90 slides, no problem. But you have a lot of messages come on one slide, yes, there's a problem. So we are going to break into the practical sections. And then right from here, we're going to move straight. We don't want to waste much time. By 4 o'clock, we should be done. Apparently, the time was to be 4:30, but you guys are looking too tired. But because some of you brought your laptops, we're going to group those who have your laptops between here to the end. If you have your laptop, stay. If you don't have your laptop, you leave your laptop here. We'll use it small. A few friends will use it, all right? And then they will move. You guys will go to the other sections to have the other practicals. So here will be for the PowerPoint, and then Nonverbal Communications, and then the other sides will be whatever the other speakers spoke on. There's one section here, there's another one there, and that way. All right? So please, within these two places, if you know you don't have your laptop here, move to the first room here. These two seats. If your laptop is not here, move to the first room here. This next two seats, if your laptop is not also here, move to the room here. You just get out through this side and get to the room here. If your laptop is here, sit down and let's talk. Let's do it quick. We are done. This is the last section. Then we will do the evaluation. And we'll ask you if you had value for the money you paid. All right? So if your laptop is here, stay here with me. If your laptop is not here, and if you're here, go here. If you're here, go there. 6 words. You've all opened PowerPoint. Now, I want to show you how you can do the contrast, all right? How you can do it, because you guys said you prefer contrast. You love the contrast, right? So you type 6 words. You open the PowerPoint slide. You type 6 names. Let's say you type 6 names. Roland, Akwesi, Yamal. And let's try and see how we can do the contrast. Okay? Now, after you type the list, right? Now, highlight all of them. Go to animation. You go to animation. Yeah, I want to show. Have you gone? Okay, let me come down and help with one of you, and then same process over here. So, okay, not highlight your 6 words, but then even with each word, let's say whatever you type here, you want to highlight. So you highlight the word you type. You highlight all of it. Control A, you can control A. If you go to animation, you click appear. Now you see it has appeared. Now, have you had those of you who have 6 words there online? Can you write 6? Not 6 essentially 6 different words arranged like how I did my iPhone 8 to 6. You have that? Who has it? You have it. Okay, you have it. Okay, so she has hers. Now when you click on you've appeared, you've given them animation, and it's all appeared. Now you go to animation, then you click on that. When you click on the word, you see they've all appeared. Go to preview and see how they all come. Have you done that? Now let's go to when you click on animation, look at the dialog box that opens. There's one place they call animation pane. Have you seen animation pane? Animation pane. Have you seen it? Click on animation pane. When you click on animation pane, all the things you highlighted, have you seen they've been highlighted by the side, I think the right-hand side of your PowerPoint? Yeah, click on each one of them. When you click on each one of them, there's a dialog box that will appear that you click downwards, it will open a box there, right? Have you seen it? Go to effect options. You see where they've written after animation, don't dim. Click it down. Choose a color you want it to dim to. Me, I've chosen blue here. And then I click OK. Then I click on Ajwa. I click on Ajwa and I do same. I click on it. When I click on Ajwa on the animation pane, I click down, effect options, don't dim. I change it to the color I want it to dim to. And I give that color and I click OK. Have you done that? You guys are lost. Okay, then let me see if I can do. I wanted them to connect so that whatever is here is going to show there. But they've not done it for me. I want whatever is here to show there so I can use here to do it for them so they can see. For instance, let me create a new control N, and then let's copy some words. Now, you see I've set up my page. You can see that, right? So I'm going to delete the title part because I'm not going to need it, and then enlarge that part. Now I've enlarged it. I like using Kandara font. So I'll go to my font and I'll change my font to Kandara because I like Kandara a lot. That's my personal font. So it's not I didn't make it, forgive me. But that's the font I really like using. So let me go and copy my 6 words from anywhere fast because we are pressed behind time. For instance, if I'm copying it from where? Here. Let me say I'm copying these words, okay? Let me say I'm copying these ones. Now I copy it. And then I'm pasting it. So by this time, you guys have your 6 words there, right? So I've pasted them. Oh, shoot. Oh, no. Sorry, I'm opening plenty tabs. So these are it. Okay. Look at how they came. You can change this because this is not looking nice at all. Let me make it simple so everybody can see. Now these are the words. You can see, right? Let me enlarge it. Home. Let me align them here. Then let me bullet them so you could see it properly. Bullet. Let me use these bullets. Now you can see. The background too is too white, so most of you cannot see. You see what I'm talking about now? Because of the background, most of you cannot even see properly. So let me change it to a different, very different color background. Now you can see properly, right? So now I highlight everything, and I go to animation. Then I click appear. You click the appear there. Now you see this part, start. You see where the start is, where the mouse is. Look at where the mouse is. You see it? You see the start? Click on it, and then do on-click. You see, when you do on-click, check the numbering that they've numbered by the slides. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You can see the 1, 2, 3, 4 on the words, beside the words. 1, 2, 3, 4. When you do the on-click, it changes from 1, 1, 1, 1 to 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Now, when I do that and I click on it, I go to animation, then I go to animation pane. When I go to animation pane, when I click on retinal display on the animation pane, a drop-down menu will come. You see the drop-down menu? I go to effect options. You see the don't dim? I go to maybe, I want to dim mine to blue. Pardon? I'm going too fast. So we should go back.
Yes, we can.
I should take my time. You need more time for this. They were giving me pressure. That's why I wanted to run. So where do we start from? We should go back. But where did you guys lose me? That's in previous.
Yeah.
So let's go back. Okay. You know how I got my words, right? So I got these words. And I clicked on all of them. I highlighted all of them. And I go to animation pane. And I clicked on appear. You can choose any of them which you want. But I clicked on appear. When I clicked on appear, you've seen the appear there? You've seen the appear there. I came to the start. You see where the start is? So you see where the mouse has come? And I clicked downward. And I did on-click. On-click. You see when I did on-click, it changed the numbering to 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see the 1, 2, 3, 4. Correct. Now, when it's this way, I click on any part of it. I highlight it. I make the box comes. Then, you see where I am now? I move to this place, an animation pane. Have you seen the animation pane? Click on the animation pane, the dialog box beside it, and come. Let that drop box comes. Has it come? Now, you go to effect options. You see the don't dim there? After animations, you see the don't dim there? Click on it downwards. The colors are there. It will show you what color you want to dim it to. I want to choose orange. So I've chosen orange. I click on OK. You see? Then I go to the second one. The same animation pane. Same drop down. And I click on it. It comes, effect options. I click on effect options. I go to don't dim. Then I go to orange again. I want all my dimming to be orange. I click on it again. Then I go to the third one. Effect options. Don't dim. Orange. Okay. The fourth one. Drop down. Effect options. Don't dim. Orange. Okay. Now, when I'm done, let's see how it will appear. Let's go to on top there. You see, on top of your this thing, there's this icon there. Look, have you seen where I am? Click on that slideshow icon. Let's see how they are all going to appear. Click on the slideshow icon. Click on it. Now, this is how it's going to appear. Click. You see, retinal display HD comes. It dims to what? So it highlights. You see, I chose my dimming to orange. So you see how it has dimmed to orange? Are you with me? Or you've lost me? Are yours doing the same thing? How many of you got it? How many of you got it? Yours is doing that. You go down, you see, when I went down, the second one has gone back to orange. So I'm using white to be the focus. Orange as the one I dimmed them to. So, you see? So after saying this point, after saying each point, it becomes orange. Okay, I've said retinal display. Then it goes, then after saying this one, then, so now you see how the contrasting is done? Have you all seen how the contrasting is done? Hello, have you seen it? Have you seen it? There's no much time. I would have done the box, but let me see if I can quickly run through the box whilst they do the shifting rotation. All right? Now, undo everything, and get to the list, like fresh list. Undo everything and go back to the fresh list. We want to see how we can do the box. That box going downwards, okay? The box thing. You guys chose contrast, so we are demonstrating on contrast. Had you chose another one, we would have done the other one. Which other one you want to do, or we should go to the box? We should go to the box. Okay, so let's undo everything to the default, like how we had it fresh, with no animation or whatsoever. Okay? And then just the list. You see, I've undone mine and I've gotten to the list, normal list. Are we all there? Are we there? You have the normal list. Do you all have the normal list? You have it. Okay, so let's go here. If you have the normal list, now, like the same way we went, highlight everything, Control A them. Oops, I did Control A, sorry. Control A them. You've Control A them. Have you highlighted all of it? Now go to animation. Do appear. Now they are all going to appear once, right? Do you see the 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1? You see it? Now don't go to on click. Just let it be the 1, 1, 1, 1 there. Now go to insect. Insect. You see insert the shapes, right? Click on shapes. Now choose the rectangular box. You see I've chosen rectangular box? Choose it. Now you would have to draw it. Now this is it. You draw it to fit the shape in such a way that all the lines you have, all the boxes you have, it can fit inside completely. So draw it. Let's draw it to cover my own. If you're using my own, let's draw to cover the retina display. Draw it so large that the next one too, when it's going down, it can cover it completely. Have you done it? Now you see, it has covered the words. How many of you, yours has become like this? Correct. Now this is it. Go to format. You go to format, you see the shape style. You see I'm at shape style. Click down, choose maybe any of them. I chose black. And then go to shape fill. Are you on shape fill? You see I've clicked on shape fill. Click no fill. But you see, when I click on no fill, because I chose a dark background, it didn't show. So I'll go and choose orange. When I choose orange and I choose no fill, the box becomes orange, right? But then the line is too small. So I want to deepen it. I want to go to shape outline. Shape outline. You see weight. You see weight there? When you go to shape outline. Now I want to increase the weight of the line, the box, the thickness of the box. So you go to weight. Then when you go to weight, you click on any of them that becomes big enough that people can see. Now my box is orange and big enough. You see, you can see from afar, right? Let me go, maybe let me choose. This becomes the biggest. Let me choose this one. So now it's big. You can see it now, right? Correct. Now how do I move it from there to the second one without drawing another box? Let's go back. Click on that. Click on the... Time is up. So now let's wrap up. They said time is up. It be like my box is very big, so let me reduce that. Thank you very much. Oh, Alvin, wait. Guys, hold on. Why you? Let me. Trust these guys telling me my program. Guys, see, Alvin, please tell them, you guys are done. Give me 1 minute, because I'll have the same time for you guys. 1 minute. All right? 1 minute. Then you guys will move. 1 minute. 1 minute. So now with this box, guys, it's 1 minute. Let's wrap it very fast. Now, I click on it. I go onto the box. I go to animation. Go back to animation. Now, you see add animation. Click on add animation. Now, when you click on add animation, go to more motion parts. More motion parts. I click on more motion parts. You see this one called down. You see where I am? Down. In the motion part, lines and curves, there's one part called down. You go to down, you click on down, and then you click OK. Now, when you click on down, by default, it goes plenty down. So this cursor here, there's a red cursor here, a mauve red cursor here. I hold it, I click on it, and I hold it, and I move it to the position I want the next box to fill. And it goes there. All right? You could see that. Then I go to add animation again. Add animation again. I go to more motion, this thing again. I go to down again. And then I click again. Then it goes again to the third one. But this time around, I want it to start from the second one. Wait, but with this, let me just do the showing to you guys how it becomes, so that those who are coming, I can have time for them. Now, this is it. When I click on appear, this is how the words come. So I'm going to the second point. See how it came? But I just wanted to show you this. When you have time, I'll visit you guys and we'll learn on these. So maybe when you have a PowerPoint presentation you're going to do, I can teach you further on how to do this one if you want to do the box or the contrast. Are we on the same page? Please don't, if you're not leaving, don't close your laptop. Let the others have a feel of it. So you clear the page, make the page blank, and God bless you. We couldn't do the non-verbals, but please let them come in. Thank you very much. So let's move to the room to his left, and then let these ones come in. Please occupy the spaces of those who have their laptops there already. Let's treat their laptops with caution because it's their personal property. Let's do no harm to their laptops. Let's do no harm to their laptops. You have to go, please.
Yes. There's some laptops at the back, so if you're grouping and you're plenty, you can get access, you can use some of the laptops at the back. So are we ready? Are we ready? You have 6 words. Type 6 words down, like bullet words. Bullet 6 words. Bullet 6 words. Bullet 6 words. Have you typed 6 words continuously? There's a new page that has been opened for you. When you open a PowerPoint, this is how your page comes, right? Fresh page. One of this is click to title, something title. Delete that box. Then the one that is click add subtitle, enlarge it big enough. Then when you enlarge it big enough, type 6 words downwards. It could be your name, it could be your food you like. Just make sure you have 6 different names, words downwards. Sit beside any of the laptops. We are closing very soon. I should go over again. Okay, so let's all open PowerPoint together. Okay, I'm going to open a new PowerPoint. So let's assume you're all opening a new PowerPoint together. Here I have another. So when I click, look at this new PowerPoint, right? We are all here. Okay, I don't want to use the click to add title, so I'll click on that box and delete it. Then I want to do everything in my click to add side title. So I enlarge it. Oops. I enlarge it. Enlarge it. Now, I want to put in 6 words. 6 words. But then I have some words already, so I want to put in these words. Then when I put, it came to center. But I don't like the font, and I don't like where they are. I highlight all of them, and then I bring them to left, and then I bullet all of them. I go to bullet, and I bullet all of them. And then I don't like the font, so I leave it from Kandara body, Calibri body to Kandara. Me, my personal font is Kandara. Choose any font you like. But then the sizes are too small for me. So what I'm going to do is increase the size. These are the normal things you know already. So just increase your size. These are the normal things you know already, right? Right? Are we all here? Have we gotten to this point? You have your 6 words down. We've gotten to this point. Now click on Control A, highlight all of those words. You have them highlighted? Do you have them highlighted? Now click on animation. The tab up there. You see where I clicked on animation? The box appeared, right? Click on appear. When you click on appear, what do you see? How have they numbered it? 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, right? Do you want them all to come once? No. We want each of them to come after the other. But wait, I didn't ask you, which of the PowerPoint presentation we did that you want us to practice on? The first people wanted contrast. So we did contrast. Which one do you guys want? Contrast. So you want to see how it fades and come on, right? So now we have the 6 words. When we clicked on appear, you see it all came 1, 1, 1, 1. They've written 1, 1, 1 beside it. But we don't want them to come all together. We want them to come one after the other. So when you go there, go to animation there. You see where they have start. You see where the start is? You see the start? Can you switch on your microphones and talk inside so we can get responses? You see where the start is?
Yes.
Yes. Click downwards, and then click on click. You see where I clicked on click? No. Go to animation. When you appeared, it came 1, 1, 1, 1, right? Go to that animation pane again. At the far extreme right, click on where the right starts. Click on it. The dialog box will come. Then you click on click. Have you clicked on click? Yes. How has the numbering become now? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Correct. Now, still at the animation pane, animation place, click on animation pane. You see the animation pane, where they've written animation pane? Yes. Click on it. A box appears to your extreme right. Now, this is it. We want, you go and click on the first one, that's the retinal display. The far extreme, there's this arrow that points downwards. Yeah. Click on it. You see there's a dialog box that comes out. When you click on the far extreme of that retinal display, like on mine, the first word, the extreme, there's a dialog box. When you click on it, what appears? A dialog box. Go to effect options. Effect options. Are you on effect options? Yes. You on effect options? Yes. You see when the box comes, there's a part where they've written after animation, don't dim. Right? Do you see it?
Sure.
Hi. Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, please, do you mind using the pointer so we can see, because you're moving very fast.
Okay. I'm moving very fast. I want to start again. Full of energy. I'm so hungry. But you know, you did to this point where you have the numbering 1, 2, 3, 4. You did on click. You see where the animation pane is? When you go to animation, you see the animation pane is here? You see where the animation pane is? There. You see the top there. You see the animation pane? Click
on animation pane, it brings a dialog box to your far right, right? When you click on animation pane, P-A-N-E, it brings a dialog box to your far right, highlighting all the words you have highlighted on your slide, right? Now, the first word, click on the first word in your animation pane. Your first word in the animation pane. Mine is retina display. At the far right of the first word, there's another pointer pointing downwards, right? Click on it. Have you clicked on it? Have you clicked on it? They brought you an option. There you can see effect options there. Do you see effect options? Click on effect options. You see, when you click on the effect options, another box appears and they've written after animation, don't dim, right? Click on the don't dim. Choose a color you want. I have chosen, I don't know, is it Mandigo or whatever, but I've chosen this color, this one. Choose any color you want and click OK. Do the same thing to the second word. Go back, the small box there, click it, go to effect options, choose the color you want, and then do it for all the four, one by one. Are you doing it? All the words you have there. Are you doing it? Correct? Yes. Yes. You want, if you don't want to confuse, plenty colors makes it look boring. You want all of them to dim to one particular color, right? So choose one color and let them all follow. So the same process, do it for all the words you have highlighted. Are you done? I am done with mine. Are you done with yours? No. How many of you are done? Now, when you are done, we are going to see how it's going to appear. Okay? Now we are done. We're going to see how it's going to appear. So go to the top here. You see this one, where the pointer is? It's called Slideshow. Some of you have it there, Slideshow. Go to Slideshow, click on Slideshow, and let's see how it appears. Now, this is my Slideshow. When I click on Slideshow, this is how mine appears. Oh, I put my pointer out, sorry. Have you clicked on Slideshow? It has come like this. Click down, like click next. Well, how is it doing? You see, when you go to the next one, the first one goes to the color you chose. You see? Are you seeing it? If you see mine, you see when I go to the next, it goes back to the color I chose. Are you yours doing that same thing? Yours doing that? That's how you contrast. Now you determine the color there. Me, I chose this color. You can determine what your own will contrast to. So that it doesn't steal the attention from the main point. You understand? So you can choose any color that it will contrast to, that it wouldn't steal the attention from the main point. So when I go to the next point, this one to contrast. When I go to the one, this one to contrast. You see? You see how it works? This is how contrast works. Now let's do quickly how the table works, right? So click undo to where you get the list alone. No animation, nothing. Undo to where it gets only the list. Only the list. Let's do the table quickly. Undo to only the list. Have you done it? Are you on only the list? Click it again, like the same old process, Control A, highlight everything. Go to animations again, like we went to animations. Click on appear. Now, you see, this one, they are 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, right? This one, because we're going to use the box to do the highlight, we are not going to make one come after the other. So we will leave it at 1, 1, 1, 1 like that. In the animation appear, right? You see it. Now, this is it. Go to insect. You know where the insect is after home? You've seen it? Click on insert. Click on shape. You see the rectangular box there? When you click on shapes, insert, shapes, you see the rectangular box? Click on the rectangular box. Now, you're going to draw the box in such a way that when it fits the first word, when you're moving it downwards, it can fit the second word equally. So, I'm drawing my box on the retina, and I'm drawing it this way. And then I've drawn my box to the point where if it's coming to the second word, it can also cover the second word entirely. When you draw it, this is how yours is going to appear. Did it appear this way? Did it cover the word? When you draw the box. Have you drawn it? Please, can I get water? Have you drawn it? Has it covered the word?
Yes.
Now, go. You see where they've written drawing format? Drawing format. The last pane, the last top there, drawing format, this one. This one, drawing format. Go to drawing format.
We have drawing too. So.
Click on shape fill. And click on no fill. Click on no fill. Have you clicked on no fill?
Please, what's the drawing format?
The drawing format was on the where they have the home, insert, and all that. Is the last one at the corner there. You see that one? Drawing format. Have you seen it? Please, have you seen it? Correct. Now, you see where they've written shape style. You can see the shape fill. Click down on the shape fill and click no fill. When you click down on the shape fill, there's going to be a no fill. Have you seen a no fill? When you click a no fill, now you can see the words, right? And the lines. But the lines are thin. The lines are not thick. So if I'm going to the next one, I wouldn't see the line. So I want to make the line big enough so that when I'm going to the next one, the line will be big.
Still can't find the drawing format. So
What version of this thing is? The drawing format, you see where the home version is? The home button. Home, insert. You see those parts? The last one, what is there? Did you draw the shape? Did you draw the shape? And it has covered it. Click on the shape. You click on the shape. As a drawing format, come there. It has come there now. Correct. Normally, always make sure you have highlighted the shape. Because you are editing the shape. So, you see the shape fill. Click on shape fill and click no fill. After clicking on no fill, now you can see the words, right? But then the line is very thin. So I want to make the line red. And then, so you go to the shape outline, I make the line red, and then I go to weight. I want to increase the weight of the line. So you see, the more I increase it, the more it becomes bigger, right? So I've increased the weight of my line so that it can move. So can you see it now? Has yours become like this? You've done it like this. You can see the words. You've increased the shape of the line. Now, click on animation again. Go back to animation. This time around, click on add animation. Can you see the add animation? You go to animation pane. Click add animation. Now, when you click on add animation, go to more motion parts. Down, down, down. More motion parts. Have you seen the more motion parts? Click on more motion parts. Click on down. Lines and curves. Down. Lines and curves. Have you clicked on down? Have you clicked on down? Click OK. Now, when you click on down, this is what happens. It moves it to an abnormal down. So you are the one to edit it and put it to the best position you want it to be. So you see, there's a thin line, and then a green dot on top and a red dot down, right? Can you see that? Can you see the red and the green? Click on the red. Click on the red and hold it. Click and hold it. Click and hold the red. And then push it, drag it till you fill the second place, how you want the second one to be. You see how I want it to be? So I brought it to the second one. I brought the red up till it's covering the second bullet. You see? And I've aligned the shape in such a way that one doesn't exceed, and I leave it. You see it? Can you see it? Have you done it? I clicked it upwards to cover the second bullet point I have, so that it shapes it in point. Then go back to animation again, and repeat the same process. Add animation, go to animation, then you click add animation, then you go to more motion parts, then you go to down, then you click OK. You see, now you have a green small point. Beneath it is a green rectangle. Then the line will come. There's this rectangle. The mouth of it is a red dash, right? Can you see it? Can you see it? And then there's this red point there. Click on the red point. No, the green point, the green small point. Have you seen where the green small point? Have you seen the green small point? The small point. Click on it. The arrow will turn and share like that. You see how the arrow has turned? You see it? Now click on the green one and drag it to the second one because you want it to move this time around from the second bullet point to the third one. So you are clicking the top green one and drag it to the second one. That if it leaves here, then you come to the red point. You see the red point, the red tip, the small one. Can you see it? Can you see it? Click on the red tip, the small one, and move it to the third one. Because you want it to move from the second one. Oh, God. What is happening to the third one. Okay, let's stop here. And then let's click the slideshow. And let's see how it appears. Go to slideshow. When you go to slideshow, the box has appeared. Because, wait, the box, we didn't first give it an animation that comes after click. When you click after click, the words will come before the box. Okay? But then mine, the box has come first. Click next. That's the next, the one in the next direction. Click next. The words have now come, right? Click again. Has the box moved from the first one to the second one? It has? Has it moved from the second one to the third one? So this is how you show emphasis with the box. So you know how to contrast and you know how to use the box. Are we on the same page? So you now know how to use it. Go home and keep on practicing. Have you learned something today?
Yes. But I wanted to find out if you are going to send us materials.
Materials?
Yes.
You know, this one, I don't know how I can send a material unless I do an audio, video thing where I am doing it and I'll send you the audio and the video training.
What if you write the steps down?
Okay. You know, because of the different versions of laptops,
That is one challenge I was going to mention, yes, even for us.
Okay, we'll work on it. We'll work on it. Also, because you guys have the 1 year training, if you need this one-on-one, in the course of, please give us 1 week break and before you start calling.
Okay.
After this month or something, when you start calling, after you relax, they will come and then take you through these same things again.
Okay.
Hello. Or you have a PowerPoint presentation and you want us to help you out, we can, after you finish preparing your slides, we can help you through that. Yes.
Yeah. Please, do you have a YouTube channel handle or something so we can?
Okay, I'll send you some YouTube links. You can also use that to study.
I was wondering because you were streaming, if it's already saved on the page so that we can.
When you go home, everything has been streamed. Is stopped on YouTube. Go to Elearning.
Okay.
ANUST. They'll put it there.
Okay.
We didn't want to put it there so that those who are not here will benefit and you are wasted money.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'll give you the link. It's stored on YouTube. You go back, you can watch the whole thing since we started.
Okay.
It's all
Okay.
on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay? And we will have the videos too. So I'm done with this. You guys chose contrast. They wouldn't do my reason. You guys have you learned more than your money could pay, right? Or you don't learn. You learned more than your money could pay. The certificates are typed, your names are typed, everything is done. The scanner we spoke to you is out. So if you feel that you cheated us and you have to give us some money, see there's my brother there, and give me any amount of money you want to give me because we need to clear a lot of debts. Because you guys are doing so much from us. All right, thank you very much. And my name is Will, my friends. It's a pleasure to meet you. Okay, if you're not in here, so what is to do around it? Or you want to relax?
No, but we are moving to the
One
next.
more.
No.
Only 6 slides?
Mr. Roland.
Yes.
Mr. Roland. I think we are going to a next session.
The first one.
Mr.
This particular one. The best way to know those who have understood it, can you stand up and go to those who have not understood it and practice it with them? That way you can also be reviving everything we learned and then it will help you. Because you are not to do it. I can go over. But I want to know if you know how to do it. So how many of you know how to do it? Just by the one thing I did. You know how to do it. Who else? You know how to do it, you can start afresh and do it. You also know how to do it. So the two of you can help these two ladies groups. One goes to one goes to one. Who else knows how to do it? The rest of you don't know how to do it. If the rest of you don't know how to do it, then let's do it together. I want the rest of you know how to do it. Right? You know how to do it, let's do it together. The rest of you don't know how to do it. So let's go back to our list. They might come anytime, so I'll be running. Back to our list. Undo to the list. Now you have the raw list, right? And what did I say? When you have the raw list, now I'm not going to do it at my end. I'm going to demonstrate it so that you guys go on and let's see if you get it done. Now when you have the raw list, I say highlight everything. Highlight Control A
Has all of it been highlighted?
Yes.
You've highlighted all of it?
Yes.
Go to animation. Click on animation. Animation. You can see animation, right? Click on appear. Appear. You click on animation, you click on appear. Has all of it appeared? Has all of it appeared? Is the numbering 1111111? Now go back to insect. Click on insect. This is insect. Insect. You see the insect? You see insect?
No.
Click on insect. Then you go to shapes. Have you gone to shapes? Choose the rectangular box. Have you chosen it? Draw it over the first word you have long enough so that when it's going to the second word, it can cover it completely. Draw it so that it can also, it's not big enough that when it goes to the second word to steal it away. Have you drawn it? Now you see, it was filled with a color when you drew it by default. Right? Now I'm seeing it very different. Practice makes perfect. These things will not work until you go back and practice. Alright? So now it has highlighted. There's a fill. It's covering it, right? Go to drawing format. Yeah, we are done. We are just doing a recap so you can let them come here. Go to drawing format. You can't find a drawing format. Click on the shape, the fill color. See, when you drew the box. Now, when you click on the box you drew, you see on the new dialog box has come. Have you seen the drawing format now? Click on drawing format. When you click on drawing format, you see shape fill, shape outline. Go to shape fill. Click on shape fill. Click no fill. When you click on shape fill, click no fill. No fill. No fill. You click no fill. Now now you can see the words, right? And the box is there, but then the line is thin. So go to shape outline. Maybe the line is even black, but you can't see the difference. So you can make the outline red. Click a color, make it red, blue, yellow, as per what you want it. Now you clicked it, then now the line has colored. Now go to shape weight. You see at the shape outline, there's weight there. Click down on the weight, the different weights will come. Click on which of the weights that will make it big enough for you. Have you clicked on the weight? Now you can see the line properly. You've seen the line properly. Now it's there. Now go back to animation. Click on animation. Then you click add animation. Have you clicked add animation? Add animation. Have you clicked add animation? Now there's a dialog box that came. Go to more motion parts. Have you clicked more motion parts? Go to line down. Lines and curves. Click down. See that part where they bring it down? Yes, that green top, red down. Click on it. When you click on it, by default, you see that the shape move down plenty. But they don't want it to go abnormally like that. So where the red is, the down part, where the red is, click on the red and hold. Click and hold on the red and drag it to the second bullet. Drag it to the second bullet. Have you dragged it to the second bullet? Now, even at this stage, it's enough. Click on slideshow. Click on slideshow and let's see how it comes. Click on the slideshow up there. Have you clicked it? Go to next. Go to next. Is it working? Did it move? So that is it. You repeat the process on the other words. And words. Are you well? Are you okay? Please, if you have extra money, give it to my brother here. We need it. We need more money because the debt is too much. So you have extra offering, we take it. Welcome, my guests. You guys are going to enjoy it. You want to learn purpose. PowerPoint page. Close what they've done. Open a new PowerPoint page. Have you closed it? Have you closed it? I've closed mine. Close yours. Have you closed yours? Have you opened a new PowerPoint page? Yours is low. Yours is also low. Please, try to those whose phones are not locked. Say to those whose phones are not locked. Some of them, security issues. There are issues with them. Guys, by the way, if you feel you've been trained today very well, and you feel the money we took you is very little, please, we need more money. We are running into many things. So you can drop your contribution with my brother at the entrance desk, and then we can use it to clear some lot of things, okay? Because some of you, because we needed you to come, you have to reduce it from 60 to So if you have extra money, you can pay us, okay? We need money. I'm talking too much. Let's do this. You're going to love it. Type 6 words. Now, me, I don't like this click to add title because what I'm going to do bullet points. So I'm going to take that dialog box, that box off. I delete it. Now I come to click to add subtitle. I want to enlarge the space because I'm going to type many words there. So I've enlarged the box. Type 6 words. Any 6 words you like. Food, and maybe 6. Make it line in line. Maybe eba, usi. Just kind of list. Just make the list. Just a list there. You get ama, kofi, ojo. Make sure you make 6. All right. You're going to work on those 6 lists. You can. If you have enough time, your typing speed is very fast. You can type a sentence. Make sure you type 6 different sentences. All right. And then let's put it there. Now, I've typed only 4 words. I've typed only 4 words. Highlight on all the 4 words. Highlight on it. Me, I don't want this font. I don't want it to be centered also. So highlight on the 4 words. Have you highlighted on the 4 words? Have you highlighted on the 4 words? By the way, I didn't ask you which of the PowerPoint design tools you wanted. All the 2 groups I taught, they said they want contrast. Which one do you want? Size, contrast, one memory? Which one do you want? Why do you all take in contrast? You also want contrast. All right, let's do contrast. Have you highlighted them? I don't like this kind of font. I'm not a lazy person. So I'm going to change my font and make it Kandara. Don't follow me. Choose any font you like. The size is too small for me. So I've increased the font, and I want it to center to left. So I've clicked it to center to left, so it's left. And I want to bullet it. I want to bullet it. So I want to bullet it, so I click on insert, and I click on home, and I go to bullet, and I bullet it. Now after bulleting it, are you with me here? Are you on this part? Are you all here? Are we here? Can I move on? Go to animation. Animation. Are you at animation? Click on animation. Click on appear. Appear. What do you see there? When you click on appear, what happened? What happened? It numbered, right? It numbered. Did yours number? How did it number? All of them were 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. If yours is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, your people didn't change it to default. You didn't go back to default. If it's yours is 1, 1, 1, leave it there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, leave it there. Excuse me. Oh God, excuse me. The only thing that happened is that when yours is 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, you see on the same animation place you clicked, on the extreme right, there's this part they've written start. You see the start? Click on it. Click on click. When you click on click, it becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Right? Do you know what it means? It means each one will come after the other. So when I click, the next one comes. When it was 1, 1, 1, 1, it means when I'm doing the slideshow, they will all come at once. You understand? When I do the on click, it comes one after the other. Now with this on click on the same animation, go to animation pane. There's a pane there called animation pane. Go there. Go to animation. Click on animation pane. Have you seen animation pane? Click on it. You see, it has brought everything you have here to the extreme right, right? Have you seen it there? To the extreme right. Have you seen it there? click on the first word you have there. The first word you have there, click on it. When you click on it, there's a bullet, that thing that drops down. You see that thing that drops down at the far right? Like a triangle, black, drops down. Click on it. When you click on it, go to Effect Options. Effect Options. When you go to Effect Options, you see after animation, don't dim. Have you seen it? Have you seen after animation, don't dim? Click on the don't dim and choose any color you want. I like this color, so I've chosen this color. And you click OK. That means that's how you want your words to dim. That's the color you want your words to dim to. That's the color you want your words to dim to. So click it. You click OK. Have you clicked it? Now go to the next word and repeat the same process. Go to the next word on the animation pane, the next word you have there, and click there, and go to Effect Options. And then go to after animation, don't dim, click on the color again. Repeat the same color. Because if you change the colors, that means when you dim, the first one goes to red, the second one goes to green. You are making things color. You are doing color blocking. You understand? It's not nice. Repeat the same process for the third word, the fourth word, and then the fifth word. Have you done it? Yes? Use your microphone.
I'm lost at the animation.
But you were able to get the first one? Did you get the first one? And you dimmed it to a color? Click on the same animation pane, the second word. The one they've written two. Me, my own is a 1, 3, 3, 4 by something. And click that small box at the corner there again. Have you seen it? Have you seen the small box at the corner there? You've seen it. Click on it. Click the don't dim again. Have you seen it again? Guys, have you seen it? Are you with me? And then click on the same color you chose for the first one. Do the same process, repeat the same process for all of them. Have you done it? Wait for me. So do it again for the last one. For all your words there. Animation pane, click down, Effect Options. When you go to don't dim, click on the color you chose. Then, now after you are done, you are all at this stage, right? Go to the extreme column on the left, top there, where they've written Slideshow, that icon like a slideshow. Top there. You see the top there? The top here. On top of the home button, those three top buttons there. Click on the one that's written Slideshow. Start from the beginning. Click on it. Have you clicked on it? So this is how your own came. Blank, right? It came like this. Click on the direction where it goes next. Click on it. Mine comes like this. Retina HD display. Click on it. You see when I go to the next word, the first word dims to the color I chose. Then click on it. You see the more I go, it dims. You see? Can you see it? Is it working like that for you? Yes, dear. Use your microphone.
I'm a little lost for what you said before, the previous step.
The previous step, the slideshow part?
Yeah.
Are you able to dim all of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, go to the top corner there, top left, where the home button is. Buttons. Yes. Okay? Now let's go to the second one using the box. Go to undo to only the list you have. Undo everything to original page and the list you have. With no animation, nothing. Undo everything backwards. Original page with the list you have. Have you done that? Have you undooed? So you have the list alone, right? Nothing is with it. You have it? Do you have it? No animation, nothing. Now, highlight it again. Control A. Click on everything again. Like, highlight everything there. Control A. Go to animation. Go to appear. But you see, this time, because we're going to use the box to show emphasis, you want all of them to appear once, and then the box will be the one doing the emphasis. So when they appear, we click on appear, and they all come 1, 1, 1, 1. Leave it. You see, it's 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, right? If yours is 1, 2, 3, that means go to the start place and do with previous. Click with previous. It will all change to 1, 1, 1, 1. Either with previous. Is it 1, 1, 1, 1 with all of you? 1, 1, 1 with all of you, right? Correct. Pardon? Do after previous, let me see. Has it changed to 1, 1, 1? Or still 0, 0, 0? 0, 0, 0. Leave it. That means it will still come. Don't worry. All right? 1 or 0, it will still come. Now, let's draw the shape. Let's go to insect. Go to insect. After home is insect. After home is insect. Click on shapes. Shapes. Have you clicked on shapes? Click on the rectangular shape there. Have you clicked on the rectangular shape? Now you see there's this icon. The icon has turned into a cross, like plus B. Draw a rectangular box on your first word to the length at which it can also, that box can also equally cover the second word. So my own like this, in the rectangular part, you can watch on the projector. You see I'm drawing, but because my second word is very long, I'm prolonging the box so that when it goes to the second word, it can equally cover it, right? You see? And then leave it. When you leave it, it highlights it like this. How many of you your own has become like this? Your own has become like this. Now, click on drawing format. You see, when you click on the shape, the blue shape, that my own is blue. When you click on it, there's this new icon, this new tax page. That is at the top there where they insert home and all those things are. The last corner there. This page, they've written drawing tools and they've written drawing format. Have you seen it? You seen it? Drawing tools and format. That's when you click on this blue one. When you click on this one will appear. Drawing tools. The format is here. Have you seen it? Is it there? Click on shape fill. Shape fill. Now we don't want any shape, the shape to be filled, so click on no fill. Click on no fill. What happened? You can see the words now, right? You can see the words now? Can you see the words now? But you see the lines are very faint. It's a black line, but it's very faint. But I don't like black because the words are already black. So I'll choose maybe red. I chose red. But even with the red that I filled my line, my shape fill color red, the line is still thin. So I want to go to shape outline. Go to shape outline. Some of you don't know where we go to the red. Go to shape outline and choose any color you want. You go in there. You choose your color. Now go to weights. We want to increase the weight of the line. Go to weights. On the shape outline there, choose any weight you want. That can be big enough to cover the word, what you're trying to do. I've chosen my weight. Now, see how it appears. This is how it appears, right? Have you all here? Have you all gotten something like this? Then let's all go to animation pane. Animation. Let's go to animation. Click animation on top there. After transition is animation. Then click, this time around, add animation. Click add animation. Have you clicked on add animation? Have you clicked on add animation? Go to more motion lines. More motion parts. Have you clicked on more motion parts?
At the lines and curves, click on down. At the lines and curves, click on down. Have you clicked on down? What happened to the box? You see, it came down plenty, abnormally, right? Right? Now, at the point where this red thing is, you see, this is my red one, this red one. You see your own? Can you locate your own and yours? Click and hold on that red line and drag the box to fill the second line you want on your slide. Drag the box to fill the second line, the shape, how you want it to move to the next line, how you would want it to be. So for me, I click on it, the shape changes like this, and I drag it to the second line. I want it to cover the second line this, and I leave it. You drop it. When you get to the shape, the way you want it to cover, you leave it. Now this time I wanted it to cover my second line. Go again to animation and go to add animation again. Because you want to do it to the third one too. Go to add animation, go to more motion parts, click on the down again. Repeat that process. Add animation, more motion parts, down. Okay. You see, now this time around, you see there's this green triangle, and on top of it there's this green little ball there. You can find a green little ball on top of the triangle, right? And then there's this triangle here, in the middle here, and there's this red ball here. Now, go to the little ball green, the green one. You see where my cursor is? The little ball on top of the triangle, the little one. Click and hold it. And drag it to the second box, the second word, to fill the second, so that this time around to move from the second one downward. So I've clicked on the ball, the ball, and I'm dragging it to the second, to the shape of which I want it to move from the second one. And then now, after I do that to the second, I position onto the second one like the way I position the first one. Click on this red one. This red one. You see the red small one? Click on it and drag it to the second one, the way you want it to be. Drag it to the second one. The third bullet, sorry. The way you want it to be, the third. For me, my third bullet is the 144-1. So I drag it to that 144-semicolon 1, and I leave it. Now you've done, at least you've done 3, right? You've done 3 boxes. Yeah, you can see 3 boxes there, right? Now go to that same slideshow place we went. If yours is different, go to where you can see. Go to slideshow, and let's see how it appeared. Go to slideshow. Now this is how mine appeared. Because I didn't change my box, make my box come after the first word, my box came rather first. Okay? My box came first. So click next. Next. You see the words have all come at once. The words all come at once. The words didn't all come at once. Then maybe your own came all at once. Now click next again. You see that the box will move from the first one to the second one. Click next. Did it move? Yes. It moved. Click next again to move from the second one to the third one. Did it move? Did it move? Did it move? So that is how you can use the box to show emphasis. That's how you can use the box to show emphasis. Maybe you don't want the din, you want the box. This is another way of showing contrast, showing emphasis. So in a PowerPoint presentation, you are doing your final presentation, you have a lot of points, and you want to just, so you are going to the next one. Yes, you can do that, right? Tell me someone outside, I will show you how we do with the table. But for the table one, doing your one-on-one thing we'll be doing in the course of 1 year, when you need it, we can come and come where we do that training on the table one. Are we on the same page? Are we on the same page? Have you understood what we did here? You guys chose contrast and we learned on contrast. There are other ones I think you guys can work on it. For instance, the ones that I was saying that if you have plenty words, you have to put some here and put a picture. Some of you are asking, how do I put the words there? For instance, if I have plenty words. If I want to put this Rectina HD at the notes part, and I don't want to show it on the screen, I will highlight the whole thing. Click and hold when I've highlighted it, and drag it down. You see, when I drag it down, there's this pane down. Some of you, because you're, oh man. When you drag it down, this particular one, there's this part. There's this part I want to show you. If yours, the note is not there, some of you, when you drag it down, it goes, some of you, but you see, this part, you've written notes, right? Can you see the note here? Yours, you have it, notes. Click on notes. When you click on notes, a dialog box will come after yours, right? Did they come? Did the box come beneath it? Now, where it says click to add notes, right? So if I don't want to show the long statement lines and I want to replace it with a picture, I just click on the words I want to put there. I click on, I highlight those words, and I drag it to the add notes, and I leave it there. You see, it has taken it from the main place, and it has brought it to the down place. Have you seen it? Have you seen it? Now, when you click the slideshow, when you click on slideshow, it won't come, but you see, it has written at the notes column. When you click on slideshow, the top there, you see, mine, it didn't come here, but it has written here. So if me, I'm presenting, I know what's next. I know what's on my notes that I can read in addition to what is on the slide. Some of you, your laptops are, the versions are some way, so you need notes. So when you have time, you come over and then do this thing. Okay? All right, so I want to end here. And this ends the whole session. We're going to bring everybody in and close the section officially. The tickets are in. Yes, the certificates are in. By the way, that's Mr. Paul. He's the one who made
Mr. Hansen. Mr. Hansen, please, you see, with the emergence of science, you realize that things are changing. Okay, I'm sorry. You see, things are changing. The world is growing, and I realized one thing, that with the presentation that you gave with regards to PowerPoint, you were using a pointer, right? But when you listen to newscasters, especially on TV3, you realize that they don't use pointers, but rather the wall is, I don't know, it's a background, and they'll be using their hands. So I don't know if you are presenting as in to a group of people as a public speaker, and we don't have a pointer like this one, but you are supposed to use the wall. How do you go about that one?
Please, my question is related to your first presentation. Are nonverbal, the nonverbal gestures, are they always reliable?
All right. I want to stand on the stage with. We are wrapping up, so this is the conclusion section, and then I want Mr. Kobe to stand on the stage with me because this is the man that made everything happen. You are hearing a lot of Roland, but then he's the one. You know, if you've been with Roland, this guy is a hot-blooded guy, want to move very fast. Then this guy will be like, no, relax. This is how we do it. Then we do it. You need such people in the team to always keep the team running. So we want to properly celebrate and appreciate Mr. Kobe. If you're doing it, you can do it better. And then myself. No, Mr. Kobe is also a master's student. He looks young, but forget, he's doing his master's in marketing at the business school. He's my classmate. He's majoring in marketing, and I'm majoring in strategic management and business consulting. And so that's why I have the business consultancy firm, Roland Janssen Consult. So everything we taught here today, we teach it in our consultancy firm, but we just wanted people. I can't do all the talks today. You understand? I'll bore you. So I brought different people to come and teach on different topics. So if there's anything, maybe you have a business, you want to. I established my business, Roland Janssen Consult, when I was in third year undergrad. Yes, third year undergrad. Second year, I was an accountant for an advertisement company, 4Byte. Another student who established that. He established his business when he was in SS Butri. And up to when he was in university, he was doing contracts for MoneyGram and a whole big banks and all those things. So if you want us to develop, you have a business, you have all these things we studied, he can help you in marketing, I can help you in business consulting and all that. My name is Roland Janssen. I'm a small boy. Very small. But he's a big boy. Very big. We want to appreciate you, the two of us. We want to appreciate you. In addition to the protocol team, the ladies that came out to help, the people that reposted our posts, the people. If this program has been a success, then a majority of our Thanksgiving goes to you all for money. Mr. Alvin, the team we met here at the IDO, you can give it to them. The man is so tired, but from morning, he has been up and helping us. Priscilla came from Kofanochi to also help. Mr. Telfa came right from Accra. Most of you don't know Mr. Telfa, but this is not a man I would joke with on any day. He was the former SRC Speaker of Parliament and all that. He has gone far. And he came. Yeah, he even, for your love, he came here yesterday night because of this. So you also want to appreciate Mr. Telfa. Do it better for Mr. Telfa. He is going back. So if whatever he taught you, if you loved it, you can package some envelope and slip it down. You understand? But pass it through me. I take tithe and all that. So I want Victor Igube. He won the ISA Photographer of the Year last year. You want to do it for him? He also helped us. The team is big. Kemo, our moderator. He's the guy who came last year and is now the petrochemical, right? Petrochemical engineering president. He came last year for public speaking, used everything. He's now the president of his department, and he's the moderator today. You want to do it for him? These are the results we want to see. These are the results we want to see. And I want to appreciate every single individual here. The tortoise said, if you've seen me on the wall, it's because somebody lifted me and placed me on the wall. Roland Janssen didn't do all these things alone. I know that the idea came when I was in the bathroom, specifically when I was moving the sponge from my neck to my hand. The idea came, why not organize a public speaking training? Don't despise ideas. Now you see the results of that little idea that came in the bathroom, moving from neck to hand. So don't waste every time of your life, and don't waste any moment of your life. We are appreciative of everything. Your certificates are here. We keep to our word. Look at how beautiful your certificates are. Your names are on it. You wrote your names in the morning, by the evening your names are on it. Typed. That's the standard we want to give you. So next year when you see it, you see the advertisement anywhere, you talk to your people that these people mean business. Then you rush. But they will still do the fundraising because we need money. If you have money, please see me and give it to me. I take it. I will take it. So
Kobe has an announcement on how you go about the certificates and everything. Mr. Alvin will pray with us. No, he's not a pastor. I won't let him pray. I'm scared of Mr. Alvin. I'm scared of you.
I know I don't do church fine. I don't do church.
You don't see your life. I'll pray with you. No, we would want anyone from the audience who has learnt all this, combine everything, act of impromptu, and come and give us a vote of thanks, and the other one will give us the prayer. So who can give us a vote of thanks after he's done, so that you can give us a vote? Or Mr. Kobe will choose randomly when he's done. Anybody at all he wants to choose. Because we gave all of you the same training. Act of impromptu, Mr. Telfa did it, so you don't want to disgrace him. And then he will choose anybody at random to pray, and anybody at random to give the vote of thanks. Thank you very much. I arrest my case.
Okay, thank you. Hello? Hello? All right, thank you. What we'll be doing with the certificates is that we'll mention the names in tens, batches of tens, okay? And then Roland will be seated outside. He has to append his signature, okay? So then when he mentions your name, you come up here, you take your certificate, and then you go outside, Roland signs for you, okay? And then what we'll do too is that we'll create a WhatsApp group for all of you. You wrote your numbers down, so then we'll create a WhatsApp group, and then we share these slides and these, tidbits that he gave you. I could see that a lot of you were confused when he was doing it. A lot of you were lost. So then we'll share those ones on the WhatsApp group, and then we'll share links to YouTube videos too as well. Okay. So then that's how we are going to go about it. So then I'm here to pick my random person. Fatu. You know I was going to pick you, Fatu. You know I was going to pick you. You give me the vote of thanks. So if he calls your name and you take the certificate, after Roland has signed, that's it. You could continue and then just go. Okay? Okay. Okay. So we have Fatu. Can you give it up for it?
Let me chip in something very quick. Mr. Joel Telfa is giving opportunity to people who want to be speakers who are being paid. So I think he's going to give you a bit of details. Then you adhere and we see how far he gets.
Thank you very much, Alvin. Yeah, like I said, I'm being paid to talk for a living. So if you want to talk for a living, you could see me right after. We'll talk outside. But I also do public speaking training. But I do it at specific times. So I'm going to give out my number. When you send me a message on WhatsApp, indicate that we met here, your name, and indicates that we met here. And then when we start the online training, I'll add you to the program. I hope that is clear. So 054, those of you who are interested, 054, 052, 054, 233, 054, 052, 08, 18. It's impromptu. 054, 054, 052, 08, 18. 054 052 0818. God bless you so much. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Telfa, thank you very much. But those of you who also want to contact us in the course of 1 year, I'll give my number to you. Kobe will also give his number to you. Please don't take Alvin's number. If you're a woman, don't take Alvin's number. If you're a man, take Alvin's number. Please, if you're a boy, you can take Alvin's number. But Kobe and I will do the training most often. So I'll give you my number for those who don't have my number, and Kobe will give his number. But because me, I'm a small boy, so the ladies can take my number, the boys take Kobe's. All right, so my number is 026. For those who don't have my number, 026 026 220 9002. 026 220 9002. So in the course of 1 year, you can store it masterclass, you can store it Roland. Just call us and then let's arrange wherever you want to be. But don't expect to call us today and see us today. We are not. You see, we are not toys. We also have. You know what I'm saying. So if you want to see us tomorrow, tell us before, so that tomorrow we can make it up to you. All right. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. gained a lot of things from this training today, from the various professionals, Mr. Talfa, and Roland and his team. We really gained a lot. I remember today in the morning, I was telling a colleague of mine, I hope this won't be one of those boring seminars. But when I came, I was really amazed. The organization, they started on time. The materials we received, the help, everything was just spot on. So thank you to Roland, the team. It was really a great teamwork. And thank you for impacting a lot of knowledge to each and everyone seated here today. Thank you very much.
Before I call someone to give the closing prayer, my number 020-910-3405 means I want the ladies to text me some. 020-910-3405. Okay, that's my number. And then there's this guy in here I'm going to call up to lead us in prayer. I always want him to pray anytime we meet, just because he says the prayer in French. I do not understand French, but I just like it because I don't understand. The only thing I hear is Dieu, and I know Dieu is God, so I know there is no prayer to anyone else. So I'll call on Weliko to come and lead us in a closing prayer. And please say it in French.
Okay. Please be praying.
In French. Okay. Ok. Éternel mon Dieu, mon roi, nous voulons te dire merci pour cette cérémonie qui s'est bien déroulée. Papa, nous prions et te confions notre frère Roland et avec le team et aussi notre frère Kobe. Papa, nous prions afin que Père, ce qu'ils ont commencé ne soit pas seulement un truc en vain. Père, nous prions afin que Père, tout ce qu'ils vont faire, même Père, tu sois au devant de toutes choses, tu puisses prendre et les envoyer très loin. Papa, nous prions afin que Père, tu puisses les bénir, bénir les familles et bénir la famille de toute personne ici. Nous prions afin que Père, tout ce que nous avons fait ici ne soit pas en vain, ça puisse nous impacter et nous donner assez de choses dans la vie professionnelle et lorsque nous allons aller pour des interviews et autres. Accompagne chacun de nous afin que Père, nous puissions arriver sains et saufs à la maison, bénis nos familles et sois avec nous. Nous prions afin que Père, tu puisses nous unir comme une famille. Et lorsque nous allons créer, comment on appelle ça, le groupe WhatsApp et autres, ça puisse nous créer des opportunités et aussi des connexions. Dans le nom de Jésus-Christ, priez. Amen.
Please clap for him, man.
Man, I didn't understand anything.
Oh, me, I can speak French. I can speak French.
Okay, so then he will call up the names and then you come up.
All right, please wait here and then you come pick up the certificates. Okay, the first person is Christian Ekofu Jr. Let's be very snappy. Christian Ekofu Jr.
Let me just change this thing. If you realize that we made a mistake in the spelling of your name, because like, you have to look at it from your handwriting.
Opata Emmanuel.
Okay, so then you let us know and then we'll correct that.
Opata Emmanuel. Kwei Enoch David. Kwei Enoch David. Kwei Enoch David. Kene. Where's the Kene? Okay. Irama Aka. Irama Aka. Kene Chuku. Is it you? Oh, okay. Aka Irama. Okay. The next person is Victor. Victor Azogu. Victor 2. Delasta. Priscilla Ju. Is it Julo? Sorry. Priscilla Suli. Okay. Sule Priscilla. She's not here. Ifya Duka. Ifya Duka. Is it you? Okay. Here. All right. Tanko Adizatu. Tanko Adizatu. Tanko. Is it Adizatu? Sorry. That's us. Ifya. All right. Kwame Lawrence. Kwame Lawrence, followed by Israel, Ankaya, okay. Ochibafu Asamoah, and that's Peter. Ochibafu Asamoah, that's Peter. Samuel Osei. Okay. That's Peter, sure. Bafu Asamoah, Samuel Osei. Blay, Afila Blay. Joyce Alote. Lois Elinam. Obani Gold. Machi Aram. Opoku Ajiman. Ama Opoku Ajiman. Atube Dupa. Ato Bedupa. Kweku Sylvester.